This makes me happy. All right. Here we go. We're kicking it off in 3, 2, 1. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Core. This is Core, C-O-R-E. I'm Scott Johnson with Bo Schwartz. No John tonight. He's sick. I was just telling the chat room. I'll tell him again. He's ill. He's illin' like a villain. We don't know what he got, but sometimes the con crud comes through the internet, and you don't have to go to BlizzCon to get it. Although, you know, the funny thing is, Bo, I've never gotten, in all 9 times at BlizzCon, all Nerdtaculars, all Comic-Cons I've ever gone to, any event like that, I've never gotten sick, not once. Is that weird?
And you shake a lot of hands.
I shake a lot of hands.
I mean, there's a lot of skin contact when Scott goes to a con.
Yep. I hug a lot of people, shake a lot of hands, sniff a lot of hair.
You have a lot of stuff that happens to you the year round.
Yeah.
I listen to TMS. Like, you are, you know, your immune system is like got to be like bolt metal plated.
Yeah.
Lead lined. Like, you're in a suit of armor when you go to a con. By the time you make it to a convention,
I think that's what happens. Is the whole rest of the year I just am exposed somehow, and then. It's not like I get sick all the time, but when I do, it's a doozy. But you would think being exposed at like a con where like there'll be news that, oh, careful, the swine flu is swirling around the thing. Don't shake any hands. I'll still shake a ton of hands. I'll wash my hands. But the trick is wash your hands a lot and don't touch your face. That's my advice to the world. Don't touch your face. That's it.
Touching my face right now. I better stop.
Well, as long as you washed your hands before. But like our keyboards are gross. I'm looking at it now. This is gross. Probably got hair and skin in there. Freaking.
You know, whoever invents a keyboard that can keep dust and beard shave hair out will be a rich man or woman. Whoever invents that.
Well, wouldn't it just need like a? Let's see. Let me think here. You'd have a vacuum sealed enclosure for your keyboard. And it would just constantly be going, no, here's what you do. At the end of the day, you just hit a key, and it goes, and sucks the day's, like, dust and crap out of it. And then, I don't know where it goes, but yeah, let's do it. Let's make $1 million.
It needs, like, an air compression system where it shoots it out the side of the keyboard into, like, a bag or something. Oh. You press the tilde key, which is pretty much a useless key, and then it just blows it all out for you.
Bo, you should have gone into the HVAC business with your family, and then we'd have a clear line on all this stuff. Why didn't we do that? It's too bad.
Not too late.
Okay.
I can pick up an HVAC book tonight.
All right.
Not happening.
Excellent. Welcome to our video game show, everybody. We're going to talk about a whole bunch of things. We'll do a little bit of follow-up on BlizzCon, a little bit of talk about a few other things going on, and then talk about some of the games that are currently driving our attention. And I have a thing to say that'll probably surprise a few people today, so I'm looking forward to talking about that right after this. Well, BlizzCon 2019 happened, and yeah, they announced Overwatch 2. Sure, they announced Shadowlands expansion for World of Warcraft, and I guess there's some excitement around a Hearthstone mode that's basically auto chess for Hearthstone, which is pretty good, by the way. I played the beta. It's actually really good. I think that might be the only thing I care about in Hearthstone at this point, is that mode. But anyway, we got all of that. We got, of course, your typical stage and Q&A and panel stuff. And we also got a small, somewhat, at least it felt heartfelt jab apology at the top about all this China stuff. One could argue there wasn't much said there that, you know, beyond what had already been said, but we'll get into that in a minute. But let's follow up on these games. Now, I got Diablo 4 out of the way, or I didn't say Diablo 4 yet, because as far as I'm concerned, this is really the only thing that mattered at the con. Now, I know that's not true. I'm excited about all of it, okay? All of it's great. But Diablo 4, as presented in both gameplay form and opening cinematic, were freaking epic in every way, takes the series back to its dark roots, and had me giddy for days and rewatching it for days and making people around me watch it again. And I just can't stop thinking about Diablo 4 and what it could mean. And Bo, I know it had that impact on you because you turned right around and started playing nothing but Diablo, and that's all you've been playing.
I've been playing Diablo 3 because I'm so excited for Diablo 4. I'm like, man, this game is great, except it's not Diablo 4.
No, it's not.
But yeah, that cinematic
It was something, dude.
was just incredible.
Yeah, yeah.
I think Blizzard Cinematic should be eligible for Oscars, and that should be at least nominated for a short film Oscar. I mean, how short are short films? Like 10 minutes, right?
Yeah, and that thing's 8.5 or something. It's pretty close.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't need to have a lot of story or character development. It's a short film, a short fiction film.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it told a story, told a really small story. If you didn't know anything about Diablo, you would still have lots of questions and lots of mystery. And who's this guy? It was something else, man.
Yeah, it really is. And I watched it again today. It's not getting old. It just is cooler every time I look at it. I think some of the best cinematic work they've ever done, and that says a lot for Blizzard because all their stuff is amazing. Like it somehow managed. You had 2 AAA trailers made for Overwatch 2 and for World of Warcraft Shadowlands. By every definition, still the peak work we expect from them. Both of those trailers were that, but this made those seem like backseat redheaded stepchildren.
Yeah,
it's
that I watched them again later, the Overwatch and Shadowlands ones, and they're both really good. But when we watched it at open ceremony, they both felt really tepid after the Diablo 4 one.
Yeah,
I was like,
yeah.
And I think honestly, I would love to know who wrote or which people wrote or storyboarded out that, because that's where you see the difference. Like a lot of trailers for the Blizzard stuff are super high fidelity CGI. They look beautiful, they have great moments.
Yeah.
But this felt like a screen composition from like every little thing cutting to even just the close-ups of people's eyes and showing the reflection, like some George Miller level business going on with every shot the whole way through. I don't expect the next next Diablo cinematic to even be as good as this. I think it's that high, it's unrealistic to think. You know what I mean? It's just like a moment or something. It's just really, really good.
One gets the impression too that this might be all we get for the really high end cinematics, because the game engine turns out is pretty capable, and even there on the floor, people are able to see cutscenes for characters rendered in the game, and not only rendered in the game, but your character rendered out in whatever gear or stuff you're wearing. That's part of the cinematics, and it looks really good. I guess the comparison to be the way StarCraft did it, except StarCraft 2 is old and this all looks a billion times better than that. So I don't know if it feels like maybe they spent all their awesome in one 8.5 minute rad intro, and that might be it until the end or an expansion. I don't know that for sure, but I just get a hunch about that because they really pulled out all the stops. And this was clearly not a thing that they just did over the last year. Like, this is the most polished cinematic thing they've ever made. And I was blown away. I just absolutely loved it. Here's a line from it. You want to hear a taste of it? Here's a little audio. Check this out.
The knowledge you seek is here. Surrender. Speak the words. Call her home.
Okay, and whoever that VO guy is, whoever that voice actor is, dude, man.
Look, not only is that guy so great, but at one point, like the acolyte or priest, he like doesn't want to come over there, so he telekinesis him over floating.
Mm-hmm.
And what he does is he's got that creepy glove with the nails on it. And
I'm here.
Still
Are
here?
you here? I'm here. Do you not hear me?
What happened?
I don't know. Do you hear me still?
I had a hiccup. I don't know what.
Here, I'll go.
It's fine.
Let's go to Central here. Central server.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Let's meet halfway.
All
right. He's summoning him closer, and he's got that weird glove with the fingernails on it, right? And he grabs his chin, the way you'd scratch like a cat under. You scratch a dog or a cat under their chin. He's like caressing under his skin. Like, that's a creepy touch that video game CGI trailer makers, like, they're not like, you don't see that in like any trailer. It was beautiful, except it was creepy, but I mean, it was great that it was in there.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, that guy's so
something.
good.
He's really cool. He's got that crazy leather thing that seems to go all the way up his back and then over his head, and then it feels like he's got a couple of bolts up here. I don't know what those are about, but they were able to build a dark fantasy villain who is clearly like, henchmen, and in all fantasy tropes, there's the big boss, like in this case Lilith, or Diablo would normally be it or whatever. But then there's always a guy just below that who's almost as evil, who's just about the worst and all of that. He is so perfect for that. And I don't even know who he is yet. I don't know what he is. I don't know a thing about this dude. And he's already my favorite villain in the history of Blizzard games. So I call him
Vanehead.
Vanehead. There you go. He was pretty vain.
He's got like gonad head. Like, it's just like, if you look real closely, there's all kinds of veins all over the bald part of his head.
Yeah, he's a weird looking dude, but he's just so cool and so rad.
He's super cool.
Here's another bit. That was a turning point. That's when the little Irish guy was going to get sucked up and have his arms broken. So
I think he was more Scottish. I think we called him Irish, but I think he's Scottish. Anyways, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. It's nice to know
sorry, Scotland.
It's nice to know the Celtic / kilt wearing folk are represented in Sanctuary somewhere. We got some great Northern Ireland, Scotland sort of something vibe going on, which is cool. But yeah, it's just an amazing thing from top to bottom. It is a much harder direction than Blizzard's typically giving us for stuff like this. And they had signs at the con and a warning at the top of the virtual ticket that said, "Hey, some of this may not be great for kids. There's some pretty wicked imagery coming up. Be ready." They never do that, including previous BlizzCons with previous Diablo stuff. Like the old Diablo or the Diablo 3 cinematics, which are all also very amazing, had kind of a watered-down Warcraft vibe to them. Not a lot of blood, a lot of heroism, a lot of Leia being scared, but really nothing was ever bad going to happen to her, stuff like that. And this is definitely not that. This is a hard fantasy, dark, gritty piece of work, and I think it introduced what that game is beautifully, assuming that game follows suit, and it seems like it is. Like, all the stream gameplay I saw was gritty and dark and bloody and rad looking and everything I want in Diablo, like 100%. I cannot freaking wait to get my hands on it.
Yeah, I was shocked to see that they even went with the muted color palette, right? Like the mossy greens and the muddy browns, like everywhere. I wonder if that aesthetic's going to hold through a lot of it. I can't imagine it will. I think for marketing, we're seeing, that old saw from Path of Exile players, it's like, oh, Diablo 2 is dark and gritty, and no, it isn't. I think they're just like leaning into that for the marketing, but I bet we see some pretty different zones.
Well, that's one thing they've always done is there's tons of variety in the Diablo games, including 2. People forget 2 had all kinds of variety to it visually, and I think we'll get that here. But you're right, they leaned into it. But I think it was, and they kept saying dark, and they kept bringing up how, oh yeah, that thing you like about Diablo 2, well, guess what? We're dipping back in there, and like they really wanted to hammer that home and get that crowd happy. There's still people who aren't satisfied. Whatever. I'm not even going to talk about those people. All I know is I've been this excited about a Blizzard game in a long time, and
game's not out. It's
work in progress.
Yeah, we're not talking about those people. The game's not out, and they showed everything you asked for. So why are you complaining?
Yeah, there's nothing to complain about, as far as I can tell. I saw a bunch of gameplay streams. They all looked great. I think the talent tree stuff looks cool. My guess is a lot of that's going to be iterated and tweaked and changed anyway, because that's how these games go. But I know this for sure. When they announced Diablo 3 in 2007 or 08 or whatever it was, I think in France is where they did it. It wasn't until 2012 we got the game. That is a long, long time. Even by Blizzard standards, from announcement to release, that was a long time. And there's a lot of story there about the development of that game and some back and forth. I mean, when they first showed it, there were like these in-game cutscenes that we see with 4 now. They were trying to do that with 3. They ended up scrapping that. They just didn't do it. So they just have dialogue and kind of a camera hovering over everybody. So it's not, they ended up not going that direction. With this, they obviously are. But I think that it's going to be closer to the way they did Overwatch. They announced it in 2014. It's out in a year and a half. just shy of 2 years.
Yeah.
I think that's what we get
2021. Yeah.
That's my guess. 2021. A lot of people think that's way underestimating. There are others who think that they should do it sooner. I think you're not going to see it any sooner than that. But, oh, man.
I think this go around that they're going to have a plan for the longer term. I think Diablo 3 was a game without a long-term plan. It was under the whole, let's make a game. Like, and they've said this much, but I kind of don't believe it. Let's make a game, and if it's good, we'll make more content for it. In a post like Heroes, Hearthstone, Overwatch world, I gotta expect that they have product releases, even if it's just Heroes or whatever. Like, there's gonna be product releases. I think a little more thoughtful, because they're gonna launch this one knowing they're going into seasons, for example.
Right.
So they're gonna need content for those seasons. So even though I've saw stuff to the effect of it's still early days, but we'll release the game and then we'll see how it goes. This is a post Hearthstone, Overwatch, Blizzard.
Yeah.
There's definitely gonna if there isn't, it'll be massively disappointing, especially since that's Path of Exile's model. That's a competitor's model. I think we'll see things like additional classes and content a little more thoughtfully this time around.
Yep. They did say, they confirmed. I went over a lot of this on the Diablo show, but they confirmed the game will be a retail product. Expansions will be made for it. So they're treating it like a traditional Diablo game in that regard, but they also showed a whole lot of stuff in the way of cosmetics, character alterations, mounts are in this game, and mount alterations and mount cosmetics, like sort of up and down the scale, to the point that I think that they kind of showed their hand to say, well, in between all of that, you'll also have opportunities to go to some kind of store and get cosmetics. They did say they will not sell power items. They will only sell cosmetics, and they will only, and the game's selling, or the actual product itself is a game and expansions. So I think I'm cool with that. It feels like they're settling in on a good compromise of how things used to be done and combining it a little bit with how things are done now. A good comparison to this, funny enough, is the model that ESO uses. Elder Scrolls Online does basically this exact thing. It's kind of what Path of Exile does, minus there's no initial game or expansion to buy from Path of Exile. But the store is very similar. So in ESO, the way it works is you buy the base game. Right now it's super cheap, but imagine buying the base game and then all the content that's come up till then. But anytime there's a new expansion, you go spend another $39 on a new expansion, like you would with World of Warcraft or something. But you don't have to pay a monthly fee. You go back to playing the game, and they do have this store. And in the store, there's a whole bunch of cool stuff. Most of it is cosmetics. Some of it's like, an experience scroll, or I can buy extra potions, or things like that. But there's no like pay to win model really there. And so I suspect that's how Diablo 4 will be. Between those big chunks of paid content, there'll be some sort of store where you can do a lot of stuff or grind those same things out, but none of them will be, I need this legendary, so I'm going to pay cash for it instead of work for it. They're not going to do that. At least that's what they said. So anyway, it's exciting. Can't wait. Hurry up, Blizzard, but also make it good.
Yeah, I'm okay if they take their time. Make it good.
Yeah, I can wait. I'll be all right. Here's one more little line from that, by the way. Here's a little something. Hold on.
This is a summoning.
See, he knew what was up. He needed to get the hell out of there, that poor guy. I felt bad for him. He was getting treated like shit by everybody in that thing, and ended up...
feel bad, but he came for knowledge.
Yeah.
And you might be thinking, well, obviously not good knowledge. Mm-hmm. But then when Vanehead was like, remember, you came here for knowledge, it was clearly implying that he wanted to know about Lilith. He was just scared.
Right.
So he wanted it.
Well,
and he willingly, he's like, yeah, okay, I'll open my chest up for this. He wasn't fighting like the other two.
Sure. So, he wanted it. He got it. But then what do you do with it if you're just dead? Like, you don't get any...
Well, that's the whole religious thing, right? Like self-sacrifice to a god. That's what's terrifying about that, I guess.
Does it annoy you that it says it needs to be the blood of the willing and none of those? Well, maybe he was at the very end.
Imagine for a second if someone said, like, listen, you are going to get to see Asmodan, but then you'll die immediately after. You'd take that offer. It seems good. Imagine Asmodan in all his glory.
I guess so. Like if
Yeah,
I'd lived a
but-
good life, if I was already bleeding to death like this priest was.
But you could picture priests if someone said God is coming in the physical form, you will see him, but for 1 second and then die. I bet you there's a religious person, a devout person, we'll say, who might entertain that offer.
Right. I think that's fair. That's fair. Yeah, so he gives up to the thing. But the other two guys were not willing. They didn't want to do this. They didn't even know they were doing it. They got suckered. So I'm not so sure about the blood of the willing three or whoever the hell the whole thing went.
That's again what I loved about the trailer. It wasn't like didn't start at the bar and showed them getting together, and even just a montage. You just have to piece together the relationships of the four characters in the middle of something happening.
And you could do it. And you could do it. Like Shapeshifty McGee with the thing over his eye. My take on that is that he was always, vainhead. And he needed the priest to get through the door. Yeah.
Although he did teleport through the door. No, he didn't need them to get through the door. He needed their bodies for the birth.
Correct. That's it.
And then he needed the muscle to fight off any of those fallen guys.
Yep. Oh, and they did willingly give their blood for the door. Maybe that's what it means. The blood of the willing.
Oh, yeah, that too, actually.
Which, by the way, I don't think I'd do. What that was were hand-shaped holes around a pentagram thing, and they had to slap their hands down over a spike that goes up into their hand and gushes a bunch of blood out of their hand.
It was a big spike, too. It wasn't like a tiny little needle. It was, like, massive. And the barbarian's like, whatever.
Yeah. That was like a stigmata hole in your hand. That thing was gnarly.
Yeah, I could see the barbarian and the zealot not caring, but I identified with the rogue guy who's like, what?
Yeah. The rogue.
he's like, really?
Yeah. He didn't want to do it. He was a real putz. But anyway, then that whole thing happens, and then they make a giant scrotum sack out of all their blood, which is awesome. And then Lilith, who's Kramer's wife, or Kramer's wife.
Kramer's wife.
I meant to say Fraser Crane's wife comes peeling out of there like she's being birthed out of it, and she's got the coolest translucent skin. It's just the raddest thing, and then this happened.
This is a summoning.
No, not that.
You thought you were so clever.
That's actually Asmodan. I don't know why he's in here.
Yeah.
Never mind, wrong clip. Anyway, Asmodan's got nothing to do with this trailer, but she's all translucent. You can see her heart beating in there like a Finnish person. It's crazy. And then she's got her cape is now a giant ball sack. It's amazing. You got to see it.
And the way she looks down at him, it's not overdone. She's like born, seeing, and then she just does the slightest head tilt down to Vein Man.
So good.
Like, what's this bug down here?
Yep. And lore-wise, she's the mother of all, right? She birthed the first Nephilim.
I understand her and the angel Inarius had a thing. An angel and a demon, and they made humans.
And that's where the Nephilim came from. And the Nephilim are
so
this weird.
She's the mother of humans,
right?
So it's unclear. It's unclear what her thoughts and allegiances actually are to humanity.
Right. Like, does she have a motherly feelings for them? Does she want them
She
dead?
could be a good guy.
She could be in the end. Who knows?
But I think there's some art where she's holding Diablo's skull or something like that. So
and the statue, that $500 statue they're selling, she's holding a skull in that shot.
So chances are she's probably not. She probably was going to try and kill her kids.
Here's what I think: she's not the big bad of this expansion. She will start out as that, and as the thing, or not expansion, this game, and as they get toward the end and toward a new expansion, some horrific thing happens where, I mean, this is a Diablo game. Diablo's not done, right? We're not done with him. So he's coming back.
We're never done with him. All the games will be called Diablo. He'll literally be the boss for all the games.
Yeah, he's the primeval, dude. Like
and it's okay. I think the fun is trying to figure out how you get from A to B.
Right.
You know what I mean? What's this? How does Diablo involve himself in this?
I'm a little annoyed that when we watched it together the first time, my brain went to a bunch of places that I'm now annoyed with, because all I needed to do is watch that thing fresh without any previous Diablo experience. And the reason for that is I didn't know it was decades after the events of Diablo 3. So I'm looking for commonalities. And when they're dragging that priest in, I see people are going to say this is racist, but I see bald black guy, and I go, "Oh, Tyrael! It's Tyrael, everybody!"
I thought the same thing. He looked like, and I watched some streams, some like reactions, and this is a common reaction.
Yeah, a lot of people are like,
I
"Oh my
think
gosh,
the angle,
Tyrael!"
and he had a robe, and I'm like, oh, Tyrael, because when we last left Diablo 3, Tyrael was in Tristram going like, "There's this thing called food, and I ate it until I couldn't eat another bite." Literally where we left him.
Yeah.
And so what happened? Oh no, it's actually not where we left him. I think the cinematic at the end of the Diablo 4 vanilla game, he goes back to heaven.
Does he?
But then he comes back to he's back to being immortal, but he's in human form and not in hood form.
Yeah, I can't remember how that all went
So
down.
I actually think he's immortal, and you'll see him again in that form in Diablo 4.
Well, I think we're not done with Tyrael for sure. But and okay, so I thought that was him. It's not. I thought that Lilith, as she starts to get birthed through the sack, I thought she was. I thought this was Leah, coming back.
Right. I guess Leah's dead, right?
I guess so, or she died with the last form of Diablo when cast out of the high heavens and the stone fell. But I don't remember how all that went down.
The last time we see her in physical form is in Act 4, the start of Act 4, Vanilla Diablo.
Yeah.
Imperius comes down and goes, and in front of the gates of heaven.
Yeah.
I don't remember what he says.
I remember that.
And then he says sacrilege.
Yeah.
And then Adria gets swept up in smoke and then turns into, Diablo.
Right.
And that's the last time I think we see her.
Yeah.
I think she's like done. I think she's a vessel for
She was absorbed.
Diablo.
Yeah, she's now. That's how we get female-looking Diablos, because her essence was, absorbed into man Diablo, and then you got the kind of non-binary Diablo with man and lady features. But here's the thing, though. Let's say that that's true. So she's out. So then my brain goes, well, who's this lady then? Because I'm not thinking of Lilith. And then when he says it, I was like, oh, okay. And then I felt dumb for making those assumptions. Then I was trying to scratch my head going, I know what it was. The trailer where it's the gameplay trailer, and it's got that cool actor from Game of Thrones and a bunch of other stuff narrating. He's sitting by the grave, putting a pot next to the grave going, brother, hell's coming back, blah, 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 that whole thing. He's... I had it in my head. I went, I bet that's Deckard Cain's brother, and that's Deckard Cain's grave there. I don't know if it is or isn't. Like, why am I even thinking that way? But anyway, here's the thing. Do you think Deckard Cain makes an appearance? Let's just go through the list. Deckard Cain comes back, yay or nay, Bo?
No.
No Deckard Cain.
That has to mean something.
No kind of like come up to the altar, use some wicked magic, bring Cain out. Cain's now he's justice itself because Tyrael didn't want to anymore.
I mean, because for all the heaven and hell, you don't really meet dead characters, right? You see their souls screaming around, going, ooh, but you never really meet too many of them.
Yeah.
But he might be in heaven as a page or something like that for the council.
Okay, so maybe some reference.
We could see him again. It's possible.
I miss him. He got beat by butterflies.
I wonder what Blizzard thinks of Deckard Cain. Because he's iconic to the franchise, so you assume it's kind of a thrall situation, like
right,
hard to get rid of, right?
Yeah.
It's hard to have Nintendo doesn't have this problem of when do we kill off Mario? They're just going to keep making Mario games, It's it's iconic. They'll never get rid of him as long as he remains, synonymous with the brand and with video gaming.
Yeah.
Deckard Cain is that in our minds, but they killed him, and.
Deckard Cain, the Mario of Diablo. You heard it here first.
Well, basically, but they killed him.
Yeah, they did.
So I think maybe no.
Okay, so maybe not that. All right, let's Tyrael, you have a thought on that. You think we'll see Tyrael again.
He's immortal, but again, that's another weird situation because his character development is supposed to be a thing, but to me, Tyrael's the guy in the hood, right?
Well, what if he's like 600 pounds now? Just because he keeps eating. It's not because he's depressed. He doesn't know how to stop because of the weird immortal stomach he has now. He just keeps eating.
That's one thing we don't have is a fat angel. We need one of those.
All right, I'm into it. All right, so then what about Mephisto, the primeval of hate and the father of Lilith? Do you think he shows up? Mephisto.
Yeah, he's got to come back.
All right, I'm down with
so.
that. Okay,
It's
butcher, any form of butcher. Probably not.
Yeah, we've had plenty of butcher.
Yeah.
They're bringing Duriel back. He was featured.
Hold on. Underling Shadow says it's Tyrael's grave in the gameplay trailer. How do you know that? It doesn't say it anywhere.
Tyrael rejoined the Council of Angiris. He's an immortal, I think.
Yeah.
Or did he stay mortal?
It's not his grave. Hold on.
No, I think he still stayed mortal. Wait a sec. I don't know.
I have it right here. Let me look at it.
Honestly, Diablo lore is like,
it's pretty weird.
You play through it once or twice, and then you're just in adventure mode, and you're like, you forget about all the lore. For me, is Tyrael and Tristram going like, there's more quests in Westmarch. Why don't you go there? Like that's.
No, it's true. Okay, I'm gonna look at this real quick. I'm just gonna pause it. Oh, I don't have that one. Never mind. Thought I did. All right, I have to look it up. Duriel's in it, which is the weird-looking, freaking lobster-looking demon. Or is that the lady I'm thinking of? Anyway, there's a few things.
It's the guy that eats. He has the mouth stomach.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. He's got larvae and stuff.
And Asmodan is dead, for all we care, and is his giant nipple rings though are preserved somewhere. So they'll figure out a way to bring him back with his nipple rings.
Do they die or do they get stored somewhere when we kill them?
I don't know, but I want 2 Herodrum holding 2 giant rings at 2 altars in some giant space, just holding these rings and then doing an enchant thing, and then everything forms around these rings and the nipples get filled with fresh Asmodan nipple. That'd be amazing.
I could do a redo of Asmodan in this more terrifying form, rather than being a comic book villain that he is in D3.
Yeah,
it's like, you'll never figure out my strategy, and I'm like, I just walk one direction straight to you and kill you. Like, it didn't really have to figure anything out, buddy. He's like, you thought you were so clever. Like, no, clever. I just got a full legendary set.
Yep, you suck, and I'm not playing that hard of a.
So I wouldn't mind a redo to see just how gritty they could make someone like Asmo. He's got a cool form.
Shep in the chat says Tyrael is wearing the nipple rings now in his obese form, so that's cool. I like that. Anyway, we don't know much else about it except it looked really good, played really well, according to everyone I've talked to who played it on the floor. They had three classes shown so far. They planned 5 at launch, and didn't it leak that it was this Amazon and not Paladin? What was the other one?
There was a leak that mentioned there was a leak 4 months ago about all this stuff, and a lot of it turned out to be true. And as part of the additional information, they said Amazon and Paladin, but
that's the original lineup.
Blizzard's reps at the con did come out somewhere asking for what people wanted as classes. So that stuff's still in development. It wouldn't surprise me if the 2 other classes are just paper docs right now.
Could be, but think about it. If they're really leaning into this Diablo 2 business, that's the original lineup right there. Like, that's it, right?
Yeah. See, part of me really wants Monk. And there was a straw poll on Reddit, and Monk's like 6th or 7th down. So I don't know. I don't know what that means, but it probably means that we're a small sliver.
Let me ask, or let me guess what was up high. Probably had Necromancer up high again.
The Paladin and Amazon were the 2 highest, plus Necromancer.
How about, did they do is in there at all? What's his name?
I think so. I can't remember. I know the other 2 that were higher than I'd wanted was the Demon Hunter. Of course, everyone loves Demon Hunter.
Yeah. And
I can't remember the other one. There's another one. What was interesting is there was no new ones. Everyone wants the same, but like D3 made new classes, and we already have what they showed were 3 classes we've already played, right?
Yeah. Crusaders are cool, but they're kind of paladins this time around, sort of. Right?
Yeah. So my vote is like new classes or Monk.
Right. So Witch Doctor's probably not in there. Probably not. I mean, Witch Doctor kind of, to me, when 3 launched, Witch Doctor was like their answer to both the Druid and the Necro.
Okay, here it is. I'm bringing it up here. I'm going to vote for Monk again because I want a different IP. So As Amazon is number one,
Yeah.
23%. Paladin 20%. Necromancer 19%. Assassin is 11%. Demon Hunter is 7.5%. Then there's one that I don't count. It's an Angel.
Oh, why is that on
No,
there?
Angel. Yeah. Then it's Monk. Then it's Witch Doctor and Crusader. Monk has 4%. Witch Doctor has 4.1.
Nah, they're all just being hipsters about 2. That's fine. That's fine.
Yeah,
They
well,
want
that's
they want stuff they haven't had in a while. I get that, and they do these rethinks of these particular 3. They look great. The Barbarian looks great. The new weapon system seems rad. Like, it's all kinds of reasons to be excited. But
the thing I liked the most about seeing the way they did it is that it looks like they're going to be panning the camera down. Not panning. What's it called when you pitch? I guess they're pitching the camera down, so it's not just isometric.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Like,
so you can get down
that's
in
a
the
nice
world.
touch.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
They have that diorama where we see it, and the abilities in Diablo 3. It kind of looks like your abilities are painted on the landscape as you do it. But that Barbarian ability, where it's like a seismic slam, where it's like a V shape, like kick up the dirt. It really looks like she or he is dragging the hammer into the dirt and lifting dirt off the ground to kick it. I just thought it looked really tactile and integrated, I guess, and not just sort of painted on top of whatever's there. You know,
Well, there was a lot of talk about physics-based combat, and that's exciting because I love how that stuff looks. There were a few like crumbled wall moments in the playthrough I was watching people play that just looked insane. Just the most beautiful crumbling of crappy walls inside of a dark cave, and getting over to the other side and just watching that stuff just come crumbling out of there and then stay and not just disappear or whatever. It just looks like next level stuff. It looked really good.
Oh, I'm so excited for this.
Yeah. So there you go. That's pretty much what we look. If you're into this stuff, listen to The Instance, listen to a million other shows about Shadowlands and Overwatch 2 and everything else. But I think it goes without saying, including John, who can't really speak for himself here, but I've heard him say enough during this week. I think Diablo 4 was kind of our jam out of this event.
Yeah. Although I gotta say, I'm excited for Overwatch 2.
Oh yeah, I am too. I think that looked great. I'm excited for for Shadowlands. I'm excited for all of it. What's JPG TFT?
JPEG TFT.
Oh,
JPEG.
JPEG. Yeah, basically. So this is the one thing I would have never predicted, because we thought if they did an auto chess type game, they would just use heroes because it's all there and it's a lot like the others that are out there. Instead, the crazy thing happened. They did it in Hearthstone, and I've played it, and it's really fun. It's like legit good. People should play that.
I'm seeing all the positive feedback on it too. I don't have the virtual ticket, so I don't think I get into the beta. I think it's just if you're a VT or owner. But I
gotta get you one. I still have
it's.
Yeah, someone has extras, and they just need to send me an extra one.
Yeah, if there's an extra one hanging about, I'll take it, and I'll watch some of the panels I missed and everything too. I'll get value out of it. That was a clever and inventive angle, and I'm glad to see it succeed. You know, even though it's not a game mode for me, like I'm still very happy that this is an example of Blizzard getting actually clever.
Right.
You know what I mean? Coming out ahead, and someone else isn't eating their lunch. They're like, "Oh, you think TFT needs graphics?
Yeah.
We can do it with cards, and it's actually more fun." And I'm like, "Oh, it's if people are liking it and it's really fun, this could be like the big victory." Also, like card packs and cards are way more monetizable than like, like I could just picture them selling, I don't know, new options or something in a way that other chess battlers wouldn't be able to potentially.
Well, what's nice about it is it doesn't seem to care. The mode doesn't seem to care what card you have. Like it's not counting on your collection for the kind of game it is. There's a lot of RNG, and there's a lot of, just like those auto battlers work. So I didn't get the sense that anything I was doing would be better if I'd bought a bunch of packs, and I feel good about that, because I don't want yet another mode that's just like, well, better buy more packs. Hope you get lucky. Good luck. I hate that. I'm sick of that with these card games. I don't want to do it
That's
anymore.
true that they only lean on cosmetics. The reason I say that is because, like, for the auto battlers, The reason this is the main reason I dropped off and don't like them. It's because too many times you're trying to build up to your third tier, and then the carousel never offers you the one that you want. Like you'll refresh and spend like 5,000 gold trying to. I'm just like, I need one more, and I get a 3-star general, and then you just don't get it. And they're like, people are just like, that's the game, and I'm like, well, that sucks. Like, you know, so is that present in this one?
I
where
mean,
you have to upgrade your cards in that way?
There is an upgrade, but I got kind of worked handily my first couple of games, but I had a really fun time with it. I haven't played enough to say this for sure, but I think it works in the same sorts of RNG ways that happen when you just sort of got your selection of what you can choose. But the carousel part of the way Teamfight Tactics works, I don't know if it actually has a mechanic equivalent to that. I think it might
yes.
not.
If they really need to solve, that's the key, at least fun for me, that they need to solve. And it seems like in Teamfight Tactics, you have room for up to 9 or 10, but the Hearthstone board is only 7 wide, right? Like it's
right. There's only so much you can do, but it's also faster. Like everything about the game was quicker, which is another thing I don't like about Dota Underworlds or TFT is that they take forever. I got to commit 50 minutes to do the damn thing. That didn't happen here. It was maybe 15 or 20, maybe, which seems like a good thing to lean into. So I don't know. I need to play more so I can be.
Wait, was it 15 minutes to play the whole thing for you?
Yeah, it was pretty quick. Well, the one time I lost real bad, and that was probably why I was shorter. But second game, I got a little further. I've not won yet, so I don't know how long those winners are there. But I don't think these games go very long. I don't think they're anything like.
They couldn't last as long because TFT, if you make it deep, is like 40-minute to 60-minute like investment. It's too much.
Too much. I agree.
That's interesting,
especially when you're reliant so much on luck and getting the right thing and the carousel going your way and like all that stuff just doesn't work for me. But
yeah.
I'd be interested 20 minutes. Sidian says 20 minutes if you're in the last round, so that sounds right.
That's a lot better. Again, there's probably going to be people hipstering it like, oh, you know, this one doesn't have as much strategy, Hearthstone RNG, but
yeah,
I think ultimately. I think TFT as a genre is still flawed and not optimized yet. There's a lot, but
yeah, needs work, I would say. Hey, here's some fun thing I wanted to make sure we talked about. You see that Electronic Arts is putting their games on Steam again after all these years.
Yeah, that was insane. That came out of nowhere.
Yeah, they fell off when they first did Origins Origin the store. That was it. They were like yanking everything out, put it all over there. You had a few legacy things on Steam that just stayed because that's where a lot of people bought them or whatever, but they weren't releasing anything new. And now I can go get that new Star Wars game that's coming out right there on Steam. And they're also bringing back other stuff, which is crazy. Yeah.
There's a lot of parallels to the Epic thing because they engendered a lot of bad will with gamers because now they couldn't get their Mass Effect 3 or Dead Space 3 on Steam. That was my particular gripe.
Yeah.
They engendered a lot of bad will. They were touted as trying to, be a competitor for Steam. And I think the results are in is that in the long term they didn't win.
Yeah.
If they're going back, I think they're still maintaining Origin though, right? Like there's all kinds of launchers.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I think what's happening is people are getting less picky about making sure they control some sort of exclusivity, and they're just like Microsoft's maybe the biggest leader in this right now, where they're like, well, yeah, it used to be Xbox or no box, but now it's like we want PC and we want Xbox and we want our games on all of those things, and we want services that cater to both sides or everybody who wants all of that, and we want to put our games on Steam as well, and they do. Like as much you could go if you had an Xbox and you had Game Pass, or even if you didn't, you can go get Gears 5, for example, for your Xbox, or if you had a PC, you're playing Gears 5. If you have Game Pass for PC, you're playing it very cheaply. And if you're just a person that's like, I never want to leave Steam ever, you can go play Gears 5 on Steam. Like, they just made it so you could do it wherever. And I think there's a trend toward that happening. People are like, yeah, I mean, with the exception of Steam. Steam's not about to say, well, you can only get Half-Life 3, or now you can get Half-Life 3 anywhere. They're not going to do that. It'll always be Steam, but they can. They're the gorilla in the room, and they can get away with it. But everybody else, I think at some point, the ones that have their own store, meaning, EA is an example of this. Epic's actually not a very good example of this because they only really have one game, and everything else is just third party. But anyone who's like, Ubisoft with Uplay, freaking Origin, and maybe even Good Old Games at some point. Well, that's true actually because The Witcher is theirs, and they don't make it exclusive there. They're just all like, whatever. If you're playing our game, great. Just buy it wherever you want to buy it. Who gives a shit about controlling the platform as much?
I have a question. Is Gears 5 on the Epic Game Store?
No.
What?
It's even in the Unreal Engine, which is funny. Hold on a second. I'm going to check
But
that.
the Gears was, I know Coalition's making it, but Gears is an Epic Games game. Like, right?
Well,
it's a
Microsoft game, but it's based.
I mean, the franchise started as an Epic game.
Well, the franchise started in the Unreal Engine with a bunch of Epic designers, but it was not an Epic production.
Oh,
it was always Microsoft hiring that out. I was trying to get into the story.
I always thought it was an Epic Games game.
I'll get into the story here and look real quick and see if it's even in there. But yeah, Epic never owned the rights to it. It was always a Microsoft Xbox thing. It was an Xbox 360 exclusive. No. You couldn't get anywhere else.
It says here, Gears of War is a video game franchise created by Epic Games, developed and managed by the Coalition, owned and published by Xbox. Okay.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So
okay,
they were almost like contracted.
But think about that. That's crazy. It's still. If you're not that up on this, like evidently I wasn't. You think of Gears as an Epic Games game, like it's made in the engine. It's almost like, what do they call it? Like a flagship game. Like when the new Unreal Engine came out, that was the game that was like almost a tech demo for what that engine could do. Right.
Mm-hmm.
That's insane that it's not on the Epic Store. Isn't it? Doesn't that blow your mind?
Well, because Microsoft controls it, not really. I mean, I don't know. I actually don't know why they're not on there. It seems like it might be a good relationship to continue. I'm running the store,
especially if you're Xbox. Who wants to have the game on every store? Just like you just described them as being very philanthropic about serving customers the way they want to be served.
Yeah.
And it's not on the Epic Game Store. How about
right.
that?
So Epic, where the game originated, does not have it, but Steam does, which is kind of weird. I don't know why that is, but
it's a little mind blowing.
But then again, Red Dead Redemption 2, which just hit PC, is an exclusive on Epic, but you can also get it on the Rockstar launcher, which is where I got it. Because honestly, I don't care. I just want to click it and have it run, so I don't care where I get it.
Do you have it on Epic?
Yeah, no, I got it on the Rockstar launcher. Because
I'm just wondering,
if you did the Rockstar launcher, they also gave you a free game, so I got a free game.
Hang on, what I want to know is there anyone in the chat room who bought it on Epic? That when you run it in Epic, you get the Rockstar launcher, and then you get to play the game.
I don't think so.
Now it's just kangaroo court.
I don't think so. I'm pretty sure it's
separate at this point.
I'm pretty sure it's separate. I could be wrong, but yeah, I know people don't like to separate their library. I get it, but I don't care. I really don't care. Like if it runs, it runs. It's a PC. To me, the library is my PC, so I really don't care. It's like saying I'd rather have them all on one shelf, but if I have to have them in two shelves, and like, who cares? They're both within reaching a distance. I can click them all. Like, that's aside from business issues. That's aside from practices that I think are a little stinky. I'm just saying, as far as I'm concerned, if there's an icon that has a game I want to play, I'm just going to click it, and now I'm playing it, and that's all I care about. So I'm not that devoted, even though I've got tons of Steam games, and I like Steam. And if I
think some of the problems being talked about too are larger than just gaming. It's just internet stuff in general.
Yeah.
Like having too many apps is also having too many passwords and having too many sites and having too many email notifications from haveibeenpwned.com about your information getting leaked and having to change the passwords all the time.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's not exclusive to gaming. I think there's a fatigue overall for some of this stuff. At least I know I have it. And
it's going to get weirder too. You got Disney Plus launching next week. Apple Plus TV just launched with a bunch of shows that people are like freaking out about. So they're like, oh, I got to get that now. Disney Plus, I got to get that. So it's all sorts of stuff like that. But I just want everyone to remember this. This is important, especially on the TV side of things. When everyone's asking you for these monthly services, it's a good thing, even though it feels like it's a lot coming from lots of directions and everybody's trying to get their piece of the pie, and that's true. But the reason it's a good thing for us is the way TV used to work for me and you was we had to go get cable, and we had to have a 2-year contract, and there's nothing you can do about what shows you got, what channels you got. You just had to do it that way. There was really not a lot of choice. There was a little bit between cable and satellite and some of those things, but really those were kind of the same. Half a dozen, six of the other sort of thing. And now I can go, you know what, I'm really into Watchmen, and I'm really into whatever other show I want to watch on, Succession on HBO. So I can pay for HBO, and I can enjoy that for a whole month. I can binge those shows I was into, but I'm kind of done now. All right, well, I don't have to do that one. I can just cancel that one, and I'll re-up my Hulu sub because that show's coming back that I loved last year, the Stephen King anthology show. Like, we have way more choice than we've ever had, and we get to decide, and there are no contracts, and you can do it in such a way that it's still way less per month than you were paying before. Nothing says you have to sub to all of these services. And so all I would say is just, and I agree, the sensation of it is a little overwhelming. It's like, bah! And I'm not talking to you, I'm talking to the audience. I think if you sit back and actually look at it, you'll realize that it's what we wanted. It's not perfect. Will we like it all under one house? Yeah, but that's cable. And do we want to go back to that? I don't. So for now, I'm okay with this because I still get to control it. They still have to compete for my dollar, and they have to tell me good reasons why I want their thing. If The Mandalorian's awesome, gonna probably get the Disney Plus. I'm probably getting Disney Plus no matter what. I think it's cheap and it seems like a good deal for all the stuff you're gonna get. So I'm gonna watch that. If it doesn't cut the cheese, you freaking cancel it. You don't have to wait 2 years. You don't have to call and complain. They don't have to come pick a box up at your house that you were just renting every month. It's so much better, dude, than it's ever been.
It is. Ads alone, even.
Right, that alone.
TV watching was like interrupted constantly by an ad all the time.
Right.
And that alone makes it worth it. All the advantages you said are completely correct. And I definitely lose sight of it because when I sub for something, like I put in the show notes a little bit, like I'm subbed to Xbox.
Yeah.
And The Outer Worlds is a great game, but I'd rather play Diablo 3 right now. And I'm like, damn it, I'm wasting my sub. I sort of feel bad when I'm wasting my sub, but Diablo is just what I want to play.
And you should, so what you should do, it's really a 30-day contract is the new contract in the world. So what you should do is cancel that thing till you're in the mood for that kind of thing and then go back to it. Like, I'm kind of doing that. I have a similar
Pretty
problem.
much.
Like, I'm so into ESO right now. It's just gross. And I'm so into it that I signed up for ESO Plus. And that means that for now, I put my WoW subscription on hold, which I haven't done in 10 years. Because until that next expansion, I'm just not into it the way they want me to be. I just can't do it. That new patch seems neat, but I don't know. I just can't get excited. Whereas there's things happening in ESO that are very exciting to me. So I'm not spending a dime more. I've just shifted my thing over. Just you're getting 15 a month now, and cancel.
There's a world of games out there, and competition is catching up. Not direct competition, but indirect competition for even World of Warcraft time,
right.
Even amongst its own games, right?
Right.
So, yeah, I think I get that.
Yeah. Plus, there's like some of these. Someone just mentioned Baton in the chat says you can bundle Hulu and Disney Plus for $15.99. So for the price that I was already paying for one of those services by itself, I can get 2 of them now. Like there's just a lot of cool stuff happening. It can be overwhelming, and we're all getting a little paralysis of choice for sure. But I just think if we just step back and go, like you're doing, like all I want to do is play Diablo 3. All right, well, you should do that, and you should cancel that other thing. Or you can look at it and go, well, that thing's only, $1 for the first month, $5 every month after that. And so you can actually, it's finally to a point where you can look at that Xbox thing and go, that's actually still such a good deal, I'll just let it ride. because it's just no big deal. It's like a cup of coffee a month or whatever. So I mean, I just feel like there's just so much more option now, and we have more control than we have ever been given. And to me, that's a win. So
yeah, you're right. It's good to get centered a little bit sometimes.
Yeah.
I know I get carried away with the things that bug me, but ultimately these are positive. These are net positive things over what we wanted to get rid of in the first place.
That's a good way of putting it. Net positive is the way to look at it. I mean, there are problems for sure. It's nothing. None of this is perfect, and I have plenty of issues with short-run content on different services and temporary exclusivities, and just like all that stuff drives me a little bit nuts. But it feels like those are all periphery to the core services, and that's good.
Well, it sounds like that Xbox. Was it Phil Spencer's trying to, be the Gandhi of video gaming and get all the games everywhere, and then celebrating universal gaming, peace and love, and all that. I don't know if that's Gandhi's message.
He wants you to buy. So now we don't have it in our lineup, but you can get, what's it called? Microsoft All Access or something. But it's basically another tier, and for $30 a month, you get all the Game Pass stuff you're already getting, and an Xbox One, and
like a console.
Yeah, the console.
What?
Yeah. So you're basically, think of it as the way phones work now. It's a lot like that. Although you're just doing a Wi-Fi thing, but like a lot of plans when you go buy a new phone, they now have plans where you pay monthly for the phone, like $35 a month for the phone.
Yeah. Okay.
And at the end of the year, the new phone comes out, you swap in the new phone, the old phone goes away, you're still paying your $35 a month.
Oh, like a lease.
Kind of like a lease. Yeah. It's not going to be for everyone, obviously, and they're not planning on making that for everyone, but for $30 a month, game as a service kind of idea, it's not bad,
So it's like a contract, like you sign up for 24 months.
No, you sign up for, I think it's monthly. Oh, I have to look it up. I don't remember now. Microsoft, what do they call this?
Wild.
I don't remember the name of the thing. It's
Rent-A-Box.
It's like Ultimate Game Pass Monster Edition or some shit.
Monster Edition? No
it's like
way.
Game Pass. Is it Ultimate? Might be Ultimate.
Well, there is an Ultimate already.
It might not be Ultimate then. It's something else. Whatever it is. Shoot, I can't remember. But it's like that, and it includes the hardware, and they have a plan for the next Xbox as well that you can just roll into it. Yeah. I just can't find it. Anyway, that would include all their streaming stuff they're planning with xCloud. That would include all their current stuff, like downloading full games now and playing them. It would include the PC Game Pass still. Like it's, $30 goes a long way when you've got all of those options. So I'm just saying, like, yeah, it is monthly, isn't it? I don't know how it works. Chat room's not sure either. Anyway, it doesn't matter.
The phone company here in Canada, Bell, used to do that where they'd give you an Xbox if you signed up for internet and agreed to keep the ISP service for a certain amount of time.
Oh, that's interesting.
They did computers and stuff too. They ended up stopping that because it was a huge pain in the butt.
Why? Because it was hard to...
defective equipment, except equipment's not defective.
I get you.
Things like that.
Yeah, I see how that would go. I usually don't trust that stuff, but I do feel like we're entering an era where this is just kind of the future, and I'm kind of all for it. I don't want any more crap. I'm sick of crap. I don't want any more stuff, Just want to have just want to have access to a thing, and then when I don't need it, it's fine. I don't need it. There's always going to be exceptions to that, but I just don't want shelves full of discs and boxes and stuff. Like, who cares?
Like, well, I mean, as much fun as it is to keep all that stuff, it ends up, I don't know, kind of owning you, right? Like, that's why I got rid of all my Magic cards. I had a shelf this big just full of cards. Moving, can you imagine moving places with like a literal ton of weight to move around? What are these that you're moving, Bo? They're playing their cards of Magic. What? I don't want to help you move.
Yeah, that's true.
And just like sorting them. It's bad. And same, I know, I haven't seen my uncle in a while, but he had a full wall just full of VHS tapes at one point. And now those are like I mean, you could watch them, but they're basically paperweights,
Yeah,
right?
they're worthless. Like, it's like my dad's slides. He used to do slides all the time growing up because he thought that was the future of photography, and now nobody wants to deal with them. There's these boxes and boxes of slides that nobody can project anywhere, so we got to go get them converted and like transfer them to digital. Like, I don't want to do that
And
stuff
you can't
anymore.
take it with you when you go. There's a little part of your brain that's like, I keep the important stuff, but
None of it goes with you.
unless you're a collector or curator, but I feel like if you do that, you have a specific collection or curator thing you're into, right?
Mhm.
I don't know.
Oh, here it is. I found it. Microsoft's new Xbox All Access deal includes a path to upgrade to Project Scarlet. So that's the next Xbox. But anyway, let's see. Xbox All Access. You get a brand new Xbox console. You can pay off in up to 24 equal installments as low as $19.99 a month. So it was only 20. I'm sorry. And 24-month membership to Xbox Live Pass Ultimate. So you do get the Live Ultimate deal with that, but it's a 24-monther. Let's see. The deal saves a player of $100 if he had purchased everything separately. Microsoft says even though it can be bundled or it can't be bundled with other promotions, and limited offer available in the US, UK, and Australia, it does have to be paired with an Xbox One. Does have to be paired with an Xbox One X. So it is an Xbox One X, not just a regular X or Xbox.
I mean, either way, it's a lost leader, right? Like, even if they sell it to you for $400, which is again probably all the market tolerates for console prices. Why not? I mean, they're not giving it away for free, but they're kind of.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if I'm a dad and my kid's like, "No, buy me this $400 console," I might be like, "Well, I don't really have the money right now. We'll just have to get you some Lego or something like that,"
Mm-hmm.
But if the kid's like, "Get me Xbox, it's $20,
yep,
a month," but still, like, I probably will break down and be like, "Yeah, this is probably fine. The kid will like it. I'll watch my Netflix on it. We'll hook it up to the TV. It'll be great." $20 a month, competitive with just Netflix.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Wow, this is bold, but
isn't it crazy?
Also,
but that's the thing. But they're just into
smart.
it right now. They're like being pretty forward thinking with this stuff, and Sony's just sort of like, we're doing what we always do. So here it is.
We give away phones. I mean, the other argument is like, it's not so crazy when you think you roll up to the phone store and they'll give you $1,000 iPhone for nothing.
Yeah.
On the promise that you'll pay a monthly bill.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, it's not actually that crazy. It's just we're not used to thinking of consoles like cell phones.
Mm-hmm.
But we totally should. They're like the same thing.
Here's some bad news. China has adopted Bo's parents' philosophy on kids playing video games.
Did you see this?
Yeah,
Did you hear about this?
We talked about it on DTNS today at decent length.
It's literally my childhood.
I was going to ask, so do you feel like these rules are basically the ones you grew up with in the Schwartz home?
Yeah. I mean, like, I grew up at an age where I might have, had I been fostered in video games, might have gotten into like an esports thing at some point, or might have delved in that direction career-wise.
Right.
We definitely liked talking programming languages. I was like a high 90s student in computer science. Like, it was definitely an interest of mine, specifically gaming, but my parents had the view that gaming rots your brain. And granted, my dad still thinks that, but like, for sure, 100%. But sure. Like, I bet you within 5 minutes of seeing him, he'd say like, "Oh, so have you decided to grow up yet?" or something like that. Like, that's the energy I get from that from that one. But my mom's come around on it, and she listens to all the stuff I do.
Sure.
But like, and she's totally pro video game and D&D and everything. But like, at the time, it was superstition, right? Like, it's gonna rot your brain. It's like drinking Coke.
Yep. But
for your eyes and brain. They're just like, there's 0 caloric value. So 1 hour a week. That's 5 school days, 1 hour. And then I got, I think, 3 to 5 hours on the weekend. Yeah. And we're, video game players. Like, the last thing you want to do is play a video game for an hour. That's like, you want to play it as much as you can.
Yeah.
You have a passion.
Yeah.
So, and I was denied that. And it did shape me in terms of, also having that belief in my early 20s that uncool people play video games. And I sort of moved away from it for a period of time. Mm-hmm. Only to rediscover it later in my 20s and be like, "No, I really like this," and super lean into it, and just, what I mean. You go through that point. At least I went through that point where the opinions of others mattered way more than they needed to, and then you get to the point where no, I'm doing stuff for me, and like, I like gaming, and I don't care if I'm 60, and people think it's embarrassing. It's not. That's them. I like to play video games, and so that it just broke my heart when I heard that the whole country now has got to be subject to my parents' policy.
Yeah, they're in force now. They were, I think it's this week they were launched, and it basically here's a couple of them. They're pretty draconian, but if you you're between a certain age, basically kids' ages, I think it was like between 8 and 16 or something. You can play video game. You can't play video games between 10 p.m. and 8 a.m. So none of those hours ever get played. You are limited per day to I forgot what it was, some tiny amount per day, a little more on a weekend and a holiday. But yeah, it's
really bad.
It's bad.
It's really bad.
It's bad. And it's also, I think, untenable because it's the biggest growth market in the world for gaming, and you're not going to stop it. The genie's out of the bottle. Kids know how to use VPNs, and even more so because you're, clamping down this way. I actually think in some ways this will be a good thing because it will spawn all sorts of rebellion. It's just people are gonna rebel left and right.
The concern is the lives affected on the way. It's the same thing we're going through with marijuana here in the democratic countries, that a lot of people end up in jail for basically nothing. Mm-hmm. And I don't know what Chinese society's like, but I know they have social scores.
They do.
And those consoles can be modded to report back non-compliances, and if you get a lot of non-compliances, I don't know if that. I can imagine a world where non-compliances will be marked, and it could affect your future as an adult or your parents even. So I don't know.
That sucks. That's so bad.
Imagine ending up in jail or reformation school because you played too many video games. Meanwhile, again, back to my parents' policy. If I was 16, they might say listen, son, don't drink. But if I went out drinking and had a good time, they'd be like, all right, you're becoming a man. You got to drink. Or you're smoking cigarettes. That's cool. And I'm just like, but games will rot my brain. F. I just want to, it's so crazy the way culture informs what we punish and what we promote. And video games, yes, you can spend too much time playing them, but they are the least harmful thing in the world. They honestly are.
Yeah, no, they're countless studies that tie drops in juvenile crime to the uptick in gameplay time, and gaming in general as a trend. There's all sorts of stuff like that. It just makes me kind of
smarter. You think strategically. It's an educational tool. It's just.
I mean, we're biased obviously because we love video games, but also. I like freedom. Personal freedom is nice. Societal freedom is good, and
But it's literally not bad for you. We have societal freedom to go get drunk if you want to, and you might have a good time. It might be good for you in some way, but it's also very bad for you. But we say, cool, do it. There's literally nothing bad about video games.
No.
That you can't also say is bad about TV or is bad about playing Monopoly
or bad about comic books or bad about a billion other things. Yeah, it's always it's the toxin of the day, but China's just hardcore, dude. They're just.
I mean, we were hard. I think there's still people, the okay boomers. I guess that's the new hip thing to say, right?
Yep.
A lot of people in that generation still. Actually, there's a lot of people even my age and 20s. There's a child actor who got his body ripped, and then he's like, I don't play Dungeons and Dragons because he works out or something like that. Did you see that tweet?
Yeah, I saw that. Then a bunch of bodybuilders
people like that now, right?
A bunch of bodybuilders replied with giant muscles and other cool shots of themselves saying, well, I do play D&D and look at me. It's all right.
It was the biggest circle jerk. Yeah, I do work out and I play D&D. Testosterone.
Yeah, that was going around for a while there. It was pretty stupid. But
the point is, there's still people who think things of geek culture, nerd culture, and think that in order to be of social value, you don't do those things. That still exists, and this just breaks my heart.
I know, Nick, you'd be in prison if you lived in China. They put out. I'll tell you later, but there's these new laws that won't let anyone play if they can't play games at your age. I think up to 19. You're not allowed now to play games anywhere between 10 p.m. and 8 a.m. the next day.
His social score is going down.
Yeah, or your social score goes down, which means you don't get any jobs you want, and you live.
You won't get into good colleges.
Yeah, you won't get a good school.
You're gonna have to pick broccoli out of the gardens. You're gonna be a farmer.
Yeah, you're picking shrimp out of the sewers and selling it in the restaurant.
Picking shrimp out of the sewers.
Okay, now I said that for a reason. Let me give you a quick story on that. When I was in China,
Sewer shrimp. Jeez.
when I was in China, two things happened that were really gross. One is they told me they were feeding me beef strips at this dinner, and they all looked the same shape and then were chewy. And they said, "Oh, we are joking. That is dog tongue." So I got dog tongue without knowing it. Yeah, I know. It was bad. And then the same people on our way back to the hotel, I said, those shrimp were really good. Where did those prawns come from? It was a great big prawn shrimp things. And she goes, oh, you don't want to eat those very much. I said, why? She goes, they come out of a place like this. And she points off to the side of the car into the most ditchy looking, nasty ass freaking horrible thing I've ever seen place. This swampy sewer water.
Sewer shrimp.
Yeah, and she was just like, and I think she even called him that. I think she says, it's like a sewer shrimp. It's no good, she said. I'm like, well, then why did you feed me those after the dog tongue? I was so pissed.
See, this is why you don't get sick at cons.
I know, maybe. I didn't get sick then either.
You're like, I ate 15 sewer shrimp before I went to Anaheim. I'm good.
I did all right over there. I never got sick in China. I don't know. I should have. The best food I had over there was McDonald's. Oh my gosh, I was in heaven. It was so good there, and it's probably no different than
because you didn't have American food for a long time.
Oh yeah, totally. I'm 100% sure. I don't think it was special. I don't think it was even better than
Did
McDonald's
you ask
here.
what's in the McDonald's food?
No, I just knew that I wanted it, and I wasn't going to ask questions. I was just like, give me this. I want this so bad.
100% beef.
Yeah, because that
means dog tongue.
Oh, and the other thing she says all the dog tongues you eat come from the black dogs. And she says that's why in southern China, you'll never see a black dog. And after she told me that, for the rest of that 2 weeks or whatever, I saw dogs everywhere. All of them were brown. No one had a black dog. I think that's true. They eat all the black dog tongues.
Did you ask her to explain the black dog thing?
She says they're just better. She says
extra racism. Oh, okay. They taste better.
Yeah, they taste better. It wasn't a color thing. It was that the tongues were no good if it was a brown dog, which is just the weirdest thing.
You see a lot of white dog.
Yeah,
white are pure. Black dog bad we eat. Like Jesus, really? That sounds awful. Sorry, I don't mean to be racist. It's just like.
By the way, her name was Kevin, which I thought was the weirdest thing.
What? Her name was Kevin?
Her name was Kevin. Everybody had common American names that we worked with over there. That's apparently it's just the norm. People would just it's easier to deal with, American companies and stuff if they can pronounce your name very quickly. So they would give themselves these names, and this lady's name was Kevin. And I just
it sounds like a great trip. I mean, damn.
Kevin told me never to eat a brown dog tongue.
Kevin the lady waiter said never eat brown dog, only black dog.
So she say, hey, don't eat brown dog. Why is that, Kevin? Because they're they don't have good tongues, she said. So yeah, anyway. There's
At least it's more for not a delicatessen reason. It's more of a food reason and not racism.
Correct. It's a food quality reason, not dog racism.
Hello, China.
All right, moving on.
Should be a new segment on the show every week. I want to learn more.
Not a bad idea. Oh, I did want to mention this kid before we get to the games we're playing. So this Fortnite kid, what's his name?
I saw that picture you posted on the cork.
Wait, which one? Oh,
he posted a picture and just said "boo-hoo" with the headline.
I was really annoyed by it because the kid's a baby.
He should be grateful. He could be in China. Then he'd be really crying.
Yeah, I'd be super upset then. But no, this kid is... I don't have his name here. Dang it, I meant to pull that up.
I know he's part of that phase, whatever phase is.
Oh, there's a group?
The esports group or whatever.
Oh, okay. Well, he's young.
FaZe is big on sponsoring underage, like below 18 sort of streamers.
Yeah. And there's some really good ones out there. Like, I know a kid here locally who's only... I think he's 11, and he won a $1,000 tournament in Fortnite that he couldn't take the prize money for because you had to be 13 or over to get it. But he won before anyone figured out he was only 11. And he didn't get in trouble. He just didn't get his prize money. But
he just don't get the prize. But he still gets the accolades.
Yeah. and he's a cool kid, but this kid cheats. He's using hit scan stuff and all the crap you use to cheat in an FPS, or in this case, a third-person shooter. But he got caught, so they banned him for life. And he's just on his YouTube thing going, shut up. I don't care how old you are, you little turd. You don't get to cry when you cheat. Go talk to your parents. Lame.
Well, that's why we train them young when they're going to be competitors, but, we train them.
Train them to be, but train them to be like honest and play fair and do that stuff.
That's the part of like the esports side where they try to sell you the sports thing.
Right.
This is professional sports, and then the reality is it's just a Wild West. There's kids that are really good at a game. Here's a sponsorship, and they haven't learned the sportsmanship or whatever. And to be honest, audiences I think kind of like salacious esports pros and gamers and stuff, right? Yeah. So,
no question.
But that's not what that isn't the best of what sports is, and it's not something that, I don't know. There's a disconnect there where you need a coach or a trainer. I don't think gamers get that. I think they have way too big egos, and
not as much. Some of them do, but they, not everyone has an option.
Well, it wouldn't surprise me to see someone like Ninja have a coach or a life coach or somebody helping him. He seems a little put together. Yeah. If not early on in his career, but I think that's what it takes to hit the big leagues.
How are they doing? Are him and Shroud and those guys doing okay? It doesn't matter. I guess they're getting paid by Microsoft. Speaking of Microsoft,
that's the weird thing where it's just like they can stream. They're still getting people viewing, but it is down from what I've heard. Yeah. But it doesn't matter.
Yeah, they don't care. They're getting paid. So I'd do it if I were them. That was a ton of money. I'm sure of it. There's no way, because they were making bank on Twitch. Guaranteed.
Even if they weren't making bank, the monetary value alone of their follows on the platform would take a lot to give that up, because that page goes away and that access to your current fans is gone. Imagine just going to Microsoft for Frog Pants, but you can't email or reach anybody you're able to reach now that in the Frog Pants community.
Yeah, because you flipped platforms. I mean, in their case, it's a big enough number that they can do it, and it's probably a guaranteed payout on this whatever contract. I'd love to see what their contracts are, but I'm sure it's a guaranteed payout overall that is equal to the best they were doing on Twitch, and certainly more than the low times they would have on Twitch, which I'd take their low times over my high times anytime.
And I think those guys look good when they have great months, but those guys go through down points, and even just like famous musicians or famous anybody, they work while they're hot, and then they never earn that kind of money again, maybe 10 years down the line, even if they're still well regarded celebrities. They don't. So I mean, I could see someone like Ninja for 5 or 10 years from now, people going like, who's that? Yeah. Not making any money. So you're better off taking a consistent and even paycheck, and then being smart with that money. So
I agree.
It's
and
a no-brainer.
And if it doesn't work at the end of the contract, if it's still if they decide to end that deal, let's come back to Twitch and everyone will flock back, and it'll be this. They'll do fine. So there's really a no loss for them. But yeah, I just wonder how. I wonder how that's going.
The smart ones are really finding ways of getting themselves tabloid notoriety too, and stuff like that. So,
yeah. Ninja seems like he's got it together pretty good. Shroud, too.
I think he's a good ambassador for gaming. I think Shroud is too.
Yeah, Shroud seems like a nice guy. He has a cat, maybe a dog, and cute wife.
Shroud's one of those guys. The reason I like him is that he sort of doesn't really inflect when he's saying a lot of stuff. I can't tell if he's happy, sad, or irritated. I mean, I guess anger is the easiest to express. Everyone can do it, but mostly he's just very like, I'm playing a game.
Right.
This is the game. Anyways, I'm shooting.
What about that? What about that guy's name rhymes with Proctor Misdetect? Do you know the one?
Proctor Nurse Disrespect.
Nurse Disrespect.
Somebody said that to me the other day too. They called me that. Actually, full disclosure, I'm Nurse Disrespect.
I mean, didn't that end up make him, when these dudes left, he ended up like with the crown over there, isn't he? Like the top streamer now?
I mean, he's like a WWE character, right? Like that's not what he's really like, obviously. Just like The Rock was never like whatever The Rock was at WWE. So
right. It turns out, but sometimes you got guys like Hulk Hogan who are way worse than they were when they were the character. You would prefer they were their character.
I've seen some photos and interviews of him like in normal mode, and he's definitely not.
Oh no, I don't have any.
He may still be a jerk, but like because he did cheat on his wife and also then made it super public,
right?
And so all that stuff sort of feeds into that drama machine that is wrestling, basically.
Dowsadorn, it makes a really good point. It's a great comparison. He says, I think Ninja's deal and probably Shroud's are probably like with what happened with Howard Stern when he went to exclusivity with Sirius Radio, Sirius XM. Yeah, same kind of deal. Because when he left terrestrial radio, he lost huge amounts of his listeners, but Sirius XM gained a ton, in the net to get him over there and have exclusivity. It was worth it to Howard because either way, he's getting big money. So that's probably the same model.
Constantly getting chased out of everywhere and having trouble. So this is like also his ticket to freedom, but still big enough audience, I think, right?
Yeah.
Like he took a hit, but ultimately he can do what he wants.
Riddick says that the kid from FaZe, by the way, his name is Jarvis, the kid who's upset.
Of course it is. Jarvis.
I mean, that's his. I assume that's his stage name. It is like his tag.
His tag. Yeah.
Okay.
And he named himself after the Iron Man voice. I guess
the Iron Man suit voice, computer voice. Okay, that's fine.
I assume so. The only other Jarvis might be someone from some obscure British comedies. Like I really like that Jarvis in Coronation Street.
Jarvis's. Hold on.
That's another one. His face shows up all the time on my YouTube. I Can't Escape as Asmongold. That's another one.
Oh, that guy's everywhere right now. If you're in any of the WoW circles, he's pretty much gonna be there.
I don't watch the stuff, and it's like just constantly his face on YouTube.
Yeah, he's into it.
He's the face of YouTube. Google, if you're listening.
Just so you know, face of YouTube.
The face of YouTube is Asmongold right now.
All right, here you go. Famous people named Jarvis. All right, there's a guy named Jarvis Cocker. This is
Jarvis.
Jarvis Cocker is the most famous person named Jarvis. Their zodiac sign is Virgo. Their most notable profession was musician, songwriter, actor, voice actor, radio presenter, and music video director. They are considered the most important person in the history born with the name Jarvis. That's what this says.
Yeah.
He was born in
Sheffield. Talking about real people and not fictional characters, because I'd argue Iron Man's Jarvis, way more people know who that is.
Oh, for sure, yeah. I mean, there's a bunch in here. There's a rapper named Jarvis Milk, another one named Jarvis Varnado. He played for Mississippi State. Somebody named Jarvis Hunter, which sounds like a job, not a name. There's a
Jarvis Hunter.
Jarvis Green. Oh, a lot of football players. And then we had a World War II hero named Jarvis Lynch. February 17th, 1933. Killed a bunch of Nazis in the war. All right, anyway.
What is a nickname for a Jarvis? You don't want to say Jarvis. Like, imagine Jarvis. Like, I say Scott all the time. You say Bo.
Yeah.
It's comfortable. Fits like a glove.
Yeah, it's fine.
What if I was Jarvis and you always had to say Jarvis? every time. It's hard on your mouth.
There was a time when I'm trying to think, like when
you say Jarv?
When podcasters, especially around gaming stuff or around Blizzard stuff, the ones where everyone's got a nickname, that kind of, I couldn't do it very long. I think it would bug me.
It's Eric the intern. Let's see what idiotic thing he's doing today.
A little bit of that. It's too much. Yeah. Like I would rather just call people John and Bo and Brian and things like that.
Yeah, I know, but you give people like a shorter name, and I don't just mean for the show necessarily. Just
Yeah.
I mean, my sister's name's Amanda, but I might call her Mandy.
Oh, okay, I can see that.
You know what I mean? Like, just something that's easier than all three syllables. Say the name a lot.
I call Carter Cartier because at her graduation, the lady handing out things called her that by accident. So she goes Cartier Johnson, and she goes up there. She's like, "What the crap did you just call?"
That's really bougie, right? Like Cartier.
Yeah, like a fancy brand or something, right?
Yeah.
Isn't there purses?
Dazzledorn has it right. We call him Jar Jar.
Well, that's not bad for Jarvis. Yeah. All right. Well, it's
very modern though. In World War II, no one knew who Jar Jar Binks was.
He cheated and he got what he deserves. That's all that matters right there. Games we're playing this week. Well, let me tell you about a little game you may have never heard of called Red Dead Redemption 2. I'm not going to get too deep into it because it's a game that's already been out. You already know what it's about. But I got RDR2 on the PC. I got it on the launcher, their launcher, the Rockstar launcher. I did that because they give you a free game when you did it. So I got, what did I pick up? I never had it on PC, so I got L.A. Noire on PC because I want to play that again sometime. I like that game a lot.
I like L.A. Noire, too.
Yeah, it's weird. The faces are so freaking weird. I love it. Anyway, so I did that, and then Red Dead has run like butter smooth for me. 0 issues, maximum everything, no issues at all. It's not been true for everybody, though, including Nick. His version would not launch. Is it launched yet?
Ooh.
Nick? Has Red Dead worked yet? Oh, great. So now it's launching for him, but the Rockstar Online services are unavailable. So they're having a bit of a rough launch. It's going not great.
Does Nick want to come on Cora and replace John today?
Yeah, he'd just be the new John.
To complain about it? He'll be like, consoles.
He'll have to shave his head or something. But anyway, no problems here. I've been playing the story. It's been great. I am loving it. I basically have saved myself for it for a whole year because I just knew the PC thing had to be coming. And thankfully it happened.
How does it feel to play it? You play mouse and keyboard? Or you're still doing controller?
Mouse and keyboard is actually my preferred way. I expected that I thought I would end up controller because, the game was made for consoles first, and sometimes that means you're going to have a better time with that. But the keyboard and mouse controls are great in that game.
It still has Deadeye, right? The slow motion when you aim your 6 shots.
Yeah.
Isn't it? It's got to be so much easier to paint that with the mouse than with the controller.
Much easier to paint that, but when you're not using Deadeye and you're just doing shots, it's now on me. There's no assist with the controller. You have aim assist, right? So you can just sort of get close to the head and it'll help you out. This if you want a headshot, you really got to take it. Like you got to be good. You got to get good, as the kids say. So that threw me a little bit, and I had to get used to it. But once I did, it's great. It feels really good. The horse stuff even feels good with a mouse and keyboard. I expected that to feel weird, but you kind of steer with your mouse and not your. It's AWSD, but the A and the D aren't really needed to turn. When you're on the horse, you can just turn your mouse and you'll turn. It's kind of hard to explain.
It's got halo turning
a little bit, but not. See, halo turning I didn't like on a controller, but on a PC, halo turning makes sense because I think mouse turning is good. If you play if you play controller, the horse thing works. It doesn't have halo turning. It's hard to explain, but it feels like what you're saying is right, but only when you're using mouse and keyboard. I was just surprised it worked great, and shooting, reloading, aiming, the stuff you're all used to. E is like your interact button for most stuff you're doing. Sometimes F, occasionally G. Like, feels good. I like it a lot. I'm going to keep going. I'm digging it. It's great. Although I haven't fired it up today because I have been completely obsessed at the same time as all this with Elder Scrolls Online, as I mentioned earlier. I can't stop playing it. I love the music. I love everything about it. I love the game. I did one of the coolest quest lines I've seen in an MMO, period. Now, I haven't played the Final Fantasy thing, and apparently there's some real cool story stuff in their latest expansion, but I have never had a cooler, more, how do I put this, more immersive experience than I did with an ESO questline in this Elsewhere expansion with this Dragon Guard content. It was so cool, and oh man,
was it like a sort of Skyrim deal where you go here and you do a thing, you make a choice?
Yeah, there's a bunch of that, and this one in particular. So I'm rolling with this dude named Sai Sahan, who is kind of Carl Jim in a weird way. He's like kind of he's basically Karazim. It's hard to explain, but he's like this dude with a really crazy beard and like a half moon attached to his head. They're all like from this desert area. And he gets me to join this group called the Dragon Guard, which hasn't done anything for centuries. Because the dragons are up to something, and there's a bunch of deaths and attacks on cities and camps and stuff, and we're supposed to go, stop this. And so everything's spoken, so everything's VO. Everything's acted out. The voice actor's awesome. He's actually the guy that used to do the Hulu spots where he'd go, "The following Hulu presentation is brought to you with limited commercial." That guy. I don't know if you remember him. But anyway, that's him.
No.
He does a bunch of
I
wild
don't
stuff.
offer Hulu in Canada, I don't think.
Oh, that's weird. Okay.
Yeah.
But anyway, he does. They have good actors in this. They're like a lot of voice. Liam's all over this game. Just every 5 minutes, I'm running into Liam O'Brien. But anyway, we go and do this whole mission, and without getting into too many specifics in case people play, because I think they actually should. It was really involved, but it felt like a breeze. Like it wasn't arduous, but it was also difficult. Like some of the fights were like you had to pay attention, be strategic, and probably should drink this potion before I start this fight, and stuff you aren't used to doing in things like WoW or games that are more on rails these days. But the actual sort of emotional connection I made with the actual quest was really something, and it was beautiful and gorgeous, and there are giant dragons in this thing, and they come down and they land, and then you go talk to them, and they, yes, what brings you to the part of, and you have these, this great sort of back and forth with the dragon, and he's working for you to help figure out why his brother, the Overlord Dragon, is trying to kill all these dudes, and by the end of that thing, it was just an emotional thing. I just loved it. I loved it. And there have been multiple moments like that in this game, but that particular quest line I like that more than I have any kind of quest line in an MMO or an RPG in a long time. I really enjoyed it. So,
did it involve a lot of combat? Like, what was your main
lots of
activity?
combat, but not entirely combat. So there were some times where the combat was very straightforward. There were times during the quest we had to find some stuff, so we had to dig deep into some dungeons and go way down low in these things and find stuff down there, and there's a lot of puzzles and stuff. And then above ground there's dialogue and choice and all of that, and then more combat. There was a part of the quest line that involved me taking on a dragon, but the way he fought me was spawning a bunch of undead constantly around me, so I had to kind of battle my way through these hordes to get to him. And then the two dragons fought in the air for a while. I just don't even know how to explain it. And the thing is, if you tried ESO back in the beta or in the first few months or whatever, it had problems like these all do. They launch hard, they have trouble, they have issues, they have to tweak it, they iterate, they make it better. It's been since 2014 since that game launched, and I just love it right now. I just love how it feels. I love the fantasy tropes that they lean into more than most. I really like the darker take, like Skyrim. It's that vibe.
It's that medieval gothic kind of feel to it.
Yep. Right.
Not the whole way throughout, because they do vary it up with zones. Just kind of take them.
Oh yeah. The zones are super varied, and there's if you go to Morrowind, it's very much what you think it is. Lots of giant weird mushrooms and swamps and all kinds of cool stuff there. And if you go to Somerset, it's all very beautiful high elf sort of mountainous green and all of that. And then if you go to southern elsewhere, it's like deserts and redstone and weird lakes and all that kind of stuff. Like that sort of stuff is also just beautiful. But I love that I can go anywhere I want, whenever I want. The world scales with you. I love the random dragon fights that you just have out in the world, open world events with like tons of people are there. But it feels to me, the reason I think I like it the most is it feels like an Elder Scrolls game that just happens to have people in it. It's no longer an MMO that sort of feels like Elder Scrolls. It's the other way around for me. And
interesting.
Man, I really like it. I really, really like it a lot. It's got its claws into me. I'm interested in how to get mounts and stuff. Very rewarding. Like the end of some of these quests means skill points. Sometimes it means a mount. Always means a cool achievement. Always means extra stuff in your bag. I have some rad mounts right now. I've got this like blood horse that like comes out of the ground when I summon it and ride off on that thing. Like it's got and they've added like tons of cool transmog and color options. You can dye everything and do all kinds of combos.
What are all the classes in this game? Is it? Because I know it's Elder Scrolls, you don't really have a class, but do you?
You start with a base class, but you can be super crazy with it. So my main that I'm playing right now, his name is Glimhorn, and he's a dark elf sorcerer is his base thing. But anybody can try and level up and fiddle about with any weapons they want. I could pick up a bow and do a whole bunch of bow skills if I wanted to. And the more you use a thing, the more that thing levels up. It's very Elder Scrolls in that way. But they do give you kind of your base templates so that when you start, you will have some benefits to choosing. Like a Dragon Knight has benefits. Like if you choose one of the Dragon Knight lines and not go too far out of your lane, then some of your passives are stronger because of what you've chosen to be to start with. So they kind of hybrid that a little bit, of having it be, yes, it's a class and you have some class identity, but really they'll let you go do whatever you want. And everybody from the get-go can do any profession they want. They call it provisioning. And if you're just out in the world, you're like, oh, I'm going to chop that tree. I don't have to go train for it. I just go chop it. I level up by doing it. When I go craft food, I level up by doing it. A new recipe drops from a guy. I go learn it. I go cook at a cooking fire. Suddenly I can make chicken, some kind of weird chicken thing that lets me have 800 extra health points for the next half hour. Like, just all that kind of stuff just is so easy going that I don't feel like it's a chore in the way that I often feel about professions. I don't know. It's hard to explain. It's just not. I have played every MMO on the market almost, and a bunch of dumb Korean and Chinese MMOs that no one's heard of, and a bunch of really crappy mobile games that no one's ever heard of. I've tried them all with the exception of Final Fantasy, which I know is supposed to be great, but give me time, I'll get to it eventually. But I've tried them all, and for me anyway, this thing is just lighting all my candles. And at the moment, like, I'm very excited
does it trouble you? You're spending most of the time, I assume, playing solo. Does it trouble you not to have, I don't know, groups to do group stuff with, or
no? Because the way it works, and I've done some group stuff. Mostly my schedule has been, it's hard for me to coordinate, but that's true of anything. I mostly play WoW solo, so it's kind of the same problem. But the group content is actually easier here because, actually, WoW just introduced a way to do this, just like this last patch. So I guess this is true in WoW now. But if you got into the game brand new and you were like, I'm starting fresh and I've decided I'm going to start in the orc home, the orc main city, which is up in the mountains in the snow, these big gothic freaking this orc place, then I would say, oh, okay, cool, I'll be there in a minute. I'd take a bunch of what's it called? Quick travel over there. I'd meet up with you. I'd be level 30. You'd be level 2. And it's all scaled to us. We just play. And I get XP and rewards that are good for me.
Like what Guild Wars 2 was trying to do.
Yeah, you get XP and rewards that are good for you. I get the same thing for me. When you get gold, you get it commensurate to your level. When I get gold, it's commensurate to my level. The items that drop, same thing. We complete, we can do whatever we want. We can run dungeons that way. We can delve dungeons that way. They have what they call delves, which are basically dungeon spots out in the world where you can there's just stuff to do in there and things to get and all kinds of great rewards and whatever. Every zone has a big overarching story quest system. It's like 13 quest lines, gives you the full zone quest or the full zone story. And then there's tons of smaller quests scattered throughout that you just do. But if you're in the middle of one of those and you're like, man, I really should go I really want to go for that desert zone, you just go do it. Like there's no, and it always feels just challenging enough, never too challenging, never not challenging enough. It just feels right. And you get rewards at level 1 that feel good, and I could do the same thing with you right then, and I would get something that feels good. You don't feel like you're lowering yourself to help somebody out. Like, I don't know. It's hard to explain, but I feel like they've nailed the balance, and everything just feels right. There's a pretty valid PvP system in there if you want to engage in it, although I haven't really. The dungeons are really fun. There's raid content. I haven't done any of that, but I hear it's good. Pretty robust role-playing scene going on in there. Lots of people doing weird festivals, all player-based stuff. Like
weird. Festivals.
I was in town one day and there was just this place that's normally like a big empty amphitheater, but they were in there like having a big to-do for their guild, and people were I can't hear them because it's not voiced, but I'm seeing a lot of chatter back and forth that all sounded very, very role playing.
Did you take off your clothes and dance?
No, there was none of that. Not there anyway. I'm sure some of that exists.
That's
everywhere,
the thing to do in an MMO. When you see someone doing something serious, you have to foil it.
Yeah. So I mean, I haven't felt this enamored and with a game like this in so long, and I dabble in and out of it over the last couple of years, but this is just finally the hooks are really into me to the point that here's what did it to me. This is so weird. I was playing Outer Worlds, which I will fully intend to get back to and finish, but it reminded me that this is like ESO is this. Like that's what this game is. Like it's this questing. It's the only difference is it's not a single player game. Even though it can be played like one,
it's the Bethesda DNA. Like Elder Scrolls still has the feel of a Skyrim Fallout.
Right. That's exactly it. Like it feels like one of those, and I love one of those. And so it's very hard for me. Like for me right now, this is the Elder Scrolls because there's so much story. All the races, like the Khajiit, which are like the cat people, and the lizard people, Argonians, are they? Aragonians, whatever they are.
Argonian, I think Argonians, right?
The wood elves, the dark elves, like all these guys have such rich, cool tapestry and history, and it's all there. It's all in that giant world, and
it's all what you've played in the single player games. Like it's not
right.
alien. I imagine that it doesn't.
No, it all feels. It all feels. There are Nords in it, so you got the kind of Skyrim connection, but the actual zone of Skyrim doesn't exist yet. I mean, it's a place and it exists in the thinking, but it's not. I'm sure they're holding that. Like just like Morrowind wasn't there until it was. When they put out these expansions, that's what they do.
Is the Oblivion area in the game?
There are lots of things you do in and around Oblivion stuff, both related to quests and story and undead, and like. They have a lot of.
Can't remember what the zone was called or the continent, but
right. But I don't think it's you go to those places all the time, but it's not like part of the planet. It's like an ethereal plane. It's like somewhere else.
Oh, okay.
So it's not like let's go quest out in the Oblivion like Devil Zone. It's more like Oblivion, because remember Oblivion was just those portals and then you go to Oblivion, but really the meat of everything happened in the world. So it's sort of like
I mean the continent of Oblivion. I don't mean Oblivion itself. I guess I meant like I just can't remember what's it called.
I don't know.
The continent
I don't know.
Oblivion continent. What because it always takes place in the continent, right?
Yeah, but I don't remember the name of it, and I don't remember. And maybe I'm just not there yet. I mean, I've seen some stuff in this game where I don't even know where I'm at. Like they've put me in places in story quests where it's like
Tamriel.
Oh, Tamriel is like it's like Azeroth. That's the idea. That's the planet.
Oh, that's okay. No, I'm not someone thinking.
Yeah,
of.
Tamriel
Cyrodiil.
is
Cyrodiil.
Oh, okay. Yeah, and that is
the Imperial City is.
Oh, the Imperial City's in there. That's in there.
Then the continent of Cyrodiil is there. There's Bruma and Chorol and Skingrad.
Oh yeah, Skingrad's in there. Yeah.
And Kvatch and Anvil.
Yeah, I think that's all there. But see, that's how big it is. I'm not even over there. I could be.
Because elsewhere in this map I'm looking at is south of Cyrodiil.
Yeah, there's a northern and southern elsewhere that are entire zones unto themselves.
Morrowind's to the east. Is the Black Marsh in it?
Yep, Black Marsh is in it. You know the big giant in people at home are going to hate that I'm going on and on about this, but you know the I can't think of the name of the damn thing. Anyway, there's a giant meteor coming to crash into it. It's a big pyramid. It's where what's his name lives. It's one of the demigods in the thing. Anyway, it's a Morrowind thing. But you should see it. There's a giant flaming meteor that's coming to smash into this home place and ruin the whole planet. It would destroy Tamriel. But it's all being held back by magic. So it's like being held in stasis. And you have a quest line where that stasis is being threatened and it's about to let loose. And man, that was cool. Oh, it was so cool. There's so much of that
meteor
stuff.
Suspended in the air?
Yeah.
Damn.
And there are no missions where it's go get me 5 of these. They don't do that. They say
Go get me 10 sewer shrimp.
Yeah, they say go open the crypt, talk to so and so thing. He'll let you in, get the key, and then go talk to that lady who died. She'll be there in spirit form, and she'll tell you what needs to happen. It's all story and conversation and dialogue choices. Like but not boring, and all skippable if you're lame. But I haven't skipped any because I love it, and the voice acting's insane. It's just very, very good. Freaking John Cleese is in this game. Plays a character, kind of a wackadoo, but he's in there. The guy that plays Harry Potter's what's his name? I can't think of names.
Harry Potter, Grimwitch.
No, the main dude, but Dumbledore, the voice of Dumbledore, Michael Gambon. That's it. He plays a really important character in this. And then all of like Critical Role people are a billion characters, and there's like anyone who does voice work, they're in this game. They spare no expense, and I guess they're doing well. They got like 15 million registered players, and people are playing it, and it's good, and you don't have to pay monthly. But I got ESO because I'm so committed at the moment. I think it's perfect.
Well, it's a game that you just don't hear about a lot, but that doesn't mean
Plus.
a lot of people aren't playing it. Like, it's the deal with Warframe, for example. So
right, or even
I
that
can see
that Star Wars game still does pretty well. Old
Old
Republic
Republic, does it?
okay.
Yeah, Star Wars. Yeah, there's always going to be Star Wars fans, and people want to play Star Wars games. So.
Yeah, and also I don't know what the limit is, but I think you could probably run one of these games pretty well in a studio and not, you don't have to be
Speaking of
Blizzard.
which, Fallen Order I'm excited for Fallen Order.
Yeah, I am too. More and more as we get closer to it, I'm starting to think that thing might be rad. When is that?
That trailer looked really good. It's soon. It's like the next couple weeks.
Oh my gosh!
Wait, it might even be like the 12th or something. It's like. It's soon. Hey, wait, I have Steam open. It should tell me.
It's too many video games right now. So many.
Yeah, if you like video games, chances are there's one that you'll really enjoy that's out there, right?
Pretty much a guarantee.
But you see, you're playing 2 games right now, and it's like the full of your time, right?
Oh, 100%. Like I'm dumb
Like,
to even be trying to do that.
How is a child in China supposed to play ESO for 1 hour?
They can't do it. And by the way, all the Chinese games made by Tencent or ones owned by Tencent or the other one over there that works with Blizzard, all those companies, all of their games are meant to be highly addictive, play it all the time, master them kind of games. So I don't know how they think in their right minds that they're going to be able to control this. I just don't see it. I don't see it. One final mention. I'll get off the ESO train for now. And some people are going to hear this and say, Scott, it's like cheating on your wife playing this and not WoW or something. I'm fine. Don't worry. I'll be back for Shadowlands. I'm back for WoW, and WoW's got my eye. It's never going to go away. That's a thing. But it feels so good to have found this. And you know what it is? Part of it, Bo? It's parking my expectations for an MMO somewhere else. Like, expectations are weird. We see this stuff and we think, oh, we're supposed to just rush through these quests and level as fast as we can to end game. There's that kind of player, right?
Right. I know what this is. Even if you're not that kind of player, you're like, well, I've done this for 8 expansions of World of Warcraft, like whatever.
Right. And what
like Black Desert was like that for me. It was like,
right.
Yeah, quest. This is animation's terrible. Okay, quest. Let me just quest.
Right. And what happened here is you can approach. I suppose you can do that to ESO, but my experience has been, if you look at it for what it's actually trying to do, it's very good at what it's trying to do, which is to provide. I think that's
where the Elder Scrolls shines through, because Elder Scrolls is. It's not a game you want to rush through. It's a game you want to experience, right?
Yeah.
Just standalones, it's like it's immersive. I mean, there's books scattered throughout that ask you to read them to get hints to solve the dungeon you're in.
Yeah. And they have that stuff in spades. Like if you're in this is the other thing, in this dungeon, there are pots and urns and boxes. And if you want, you can loot all of them. And they've got stuff you can use for crafting. So you probably should do it. The books are not as... It's not down to every single book, but it's down to every single bookshelf. So any building you're in, if there are bookshelves, you can go over there and see what the number one book is. It'll pop it open, and some of those give you skill bumps. Some of those will start quests. Some of them add to a lore thing that you're doing, or give you more notoriety with like the Mages Guild. Like they use those systems that are so famous in the Elder Scrolls series to really great effect in there. So they don't skimp on that stuff. But they've also streamlined so much of it that it's actually... I went and tried to play Skyrim recently. I can't do it right now. It just feels bad. Like it feels clunky and old. and it
Just in
bumped it.
comparison, so this is the premier Elder Scrolls experience.
For
right
me,
now.
it is, and I know that's going to sound crazy, but again, it's about people's expectations for MMOs, and I think they have to. Sometimes as a gamer, you just got to change your thinking. Look at it, approach it from a fresher angle, and not get all wound up in what we think a thing is supposed to be, or sometimes MMOs, you get into them and you start grinding and you start realizing how paper thin everything is. And this game doesn't want you to do that. It wants you to stop, smell the roses, listen to the sound, pay close attention, notice how many cool textures are in here. It has housing, by the way, so you can just fill your house full of all kinds of crazy shit. And
is it instance housing as well?
It
so
is.
You don't have to
Totally
be on a wait
is.
list or anything.
Yeah, it totally is instance. So you can. And there's every continent has multiple kinds of housing. Some of it's earned through the game. Some of it you could buy. Like there's a big Halloween deal where you can buy it with the game credits. You can pay cash for. You earn over time. But it was like a giant, Dracula's castle type place with multiple floors and stuff. It was like, I don't know what it was, 14,000 crowns or something. So it was a lot of that, and I probably would never need it, but it was sure neat. And you can go test out any of that stuff fully furnished if you want. You just run around in it. It's just cool stuff like that. It's something for everybody to be doing all the time. It just feels good.
Where this is. Let me make sure it's on my wish list. You never know. I may get curious. You've talked about it enough times, and I always think about the game, right?
Yeah.
So the big thing for MMOs is always like the getting over the fear.
Yeah. No, I get you.
Of like, there's a little trepidation always with like, I can't play this game for 60 hours.
And see, that's my point is that it's funny, people look at a game like this and then they'll look at a game like Skyrim and say, well, I have no problem spending 300 hours in Skyrim, but I can't do that with an MMO. I don't have time for that. Well, you just don't think of it as one. It really isn't one. It is, but there's just another label we've slapped on these things, and it's just not the same. It's hard to explain, but I've had some magical moments in there, and I'm recommending it to everybody because I really like it.
You said it has even leveling, so if I happen to be in there and you're playing, we could play together and not be divided.
100% we can play immediately. You can play together. There's nothing holding you back. Even if we come in on different factions, I think we can still play content together. We just might fight in PvP zones or something, but like we would immediately just get in and go. Like if you got in there and started playing and you're like, hey, I'm over in Morrowind doing this zone, I'd say, sweet, be there in a minute, and we would play through that stuff. And I can play through things I haven't done it, but I assume that if it's even quest lines I've done or finished story stuff, I just do it again with you. I don't know. I assume so. But it's just neat, and it feels so huge that I feel like I barely scratched it. Like the world is so big, and the quest lines are so cool, and even the old stuff from the original release, some of the older quests are just still great because they just take their time. And I could see how some people who just want to skip through text and get going and grind and get to end game, I don't think they made that for them. I think they made that all exists here, but I don't think they were aiming for that. That's not their idea here. I think it's really neat.
Oh, I think I've seen this Carl Jim. Does he ever look like Carl Jim?
Yeah, Sai Sahan, he's awesome. He's a badass mother scratcher.
He's got like a more softer look. His face looks like European, and less like a sort of, I would say, like Egyptian or Arabic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's
like, he kind of has he's dwarf face, and I don't mean that in a bad way. I just mean like fantasy dwarf face kind of.
Yeah.
But apart from that, he's got the beard. He's got golden armor. Yeah. Not a lot of it.
Yep.
Robes, like a little scarf.
Yep. He fights real good, although he's using scimitars and stuff instead of his fists. But yeah, he's cool. And the other people the people in that whole quest line, there's a cat dude that is one of the, because he's a cat faced dude, and he is just the funniest. There's lots of funny stuff. It's just good. All right, I'll shut up about it now, but I like it.
Well, I went to press install. Now it is 100 meg or 100 gig install.
Yeah, mine was.
It's a doozy.
Mine was only 80. No, I'm sorry. Hold on. How big is this?
I was gonna kind of install it and keep it in there on a lark. There's a free to play weekend till December 3rd or something like that going on right now.
Oh yeah, you should check it out.
But no, my hard disk is super full. I've only got I barely have any room left after I install it.
Side note: I just put a 1 gigabyte or 1 terabyte SSD in as an E drive, like a secondary drive, and man, that thing is great. SSD forever. Regular drives can bite my
Yeah,
hole.
they're so good.
It's like, what's even the point of living if you can't have an SSD? All right. Final recommendation: a small game called Meteor Fall: Crumpet's Tale. And if you've heard Meteor Fall before, it's because there's a mobile game that did really well last year called Meteor Fall, which was this fun little roguelike simple card game made for phones. It had this really cool kind of Adventure Time art style to it, although I think it's different enough to not really make the comparison, but it's pretty cool. Anyway, it was a fun little, distraction, and they made a really good game with that. I liked it a lot. And right thereafter, they started work on this Crumpet's Tale thing, which is a PC-based game that is a card battler deck builder roguelike in the vein of Slay the Spire, but in a very different kind of presentation. And it's very cool so far. I just picked it up. In fact, it struck me as something you'd probably like.
What's it called? Crumpet's Bane?
Crumpet's Tale.
Yeah,
Crumpet's Bane. You're still thinking about maybe that guy in Diablo 4's thing his name is Crumpet, and he has a lot of veins. I don't know. But yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Crumpet with a K. Anyway.
Oh, Crumpet with a K. I got pictures of crumpets.
Yes. KRUMP, or say, KRUMIT apostrophe S. It's very cool, and so far I'm really liking it. I mean, it's a casual roguelike deck builder, unlock stuff kind of game. It's in early access now, and it looks great, and super impressed with it so far. So I'm going to keep hacking away at that thing when I've got a moment. It's a great thing to have when you're, like, if I'm on a meeting, like a phone meeting, I'll play that while I'm on a call.
And this is, I've got the right thing here. It's a very Japan animation kind of style.
No, it should look more, it should say Meteor Fall Crumpet's Tale, right?
Oh, Meteor Fall.
Yeah, Meteor Fall. Here, I'll send you. The name is not easy to remember. I'll give you that. But I'll put it in the thing here. That's the exact title. Whoa, it's all caps. Sorry.
Crumpet's Tale.
That sounds like it almost looks like a caption for that Santa Claus you sent me. It's Crumpet's Tale. Yeah.
I mean, he's a human meteor.
Yeah.
Oh, this thing. I think I've seen a picture or two of it. Wow, it's really animated.
Yeah, it's great.
It looks cool.
It's very good. Very good so far.
This isn't the Behemoth game, is it?
No, this is...
Reminds me a little bit of like the Castle Crashers kind of...
Slothworks is the name. And I think this may be their second game, but they were the Meteor Fall for phones was very acclaimed, and then this follow-up has not disappointed so far. I think it's really cool. And it's, like I said, Slay the Spire style kind of approach to the game. It's very good. But not, it's not Hearthstone where you got to try to get cards and buy them and all that. We talked about your current obsession with Diablo 3. You still playing League a little bit?
I've been playing League. I mean, a lot of my game time has been like, I got a couple hours. Let me play
one game of League.
A MOBA. I can get in 2 hours. I can get 2 or 3 in.
Yeah,
actually, some stuff's really changed there. I haven't seen a single racial epithet at all.
Wow.
There's no chatting between two teams. It's only within your own team now. Mm-hmm. There's party poopers and people who want to surrender, but you prove them wrong and end up winning. But in terms of toxicity is way down, in my opinion.
Yeah.
The game client, like the client itself, just out of the game, is also really beautiful now.
Yeah, it does look.
It's
good.
Still the same game, but they take some lessons. There's now a minion you can get that does a lane push, just like heroes, and in the late game you actually you don't get mounts, but you get a speed boost if you die and you got to come back from the fountain. You can just like turbocharge out of the thing.
That's good.
So yeah, it's still a slow game, but it's fun.
You're liking it. That's good.
Yeah. I mean, it's a little break from Heroes. I don't know, Heroes. I'm kind of heartbroken about Heroes.
Yeah,
the fate of Heroes.
I mean,
like,
even with the Deathwing announcement, it's just I'm having a hard time. I don't know. I just feel like they got this. The BlizzCon was proof to me where that thing's at for them. They put it in that arcade alongside such modern hits as The Lost Vikings and Rock and Roll Racing, and called it an arcade game. And other than, yes, we got a mention of Deathwing, it was just rehash of the news that came the week before. Like, they just aren't. It's clear they're not going to prioritize it. And
I mean, it's just, we know how they treat the other games in the classic folder, which is, they get a patch every couple of years, and it's just balance, basically.
yeah,
Now, I think they are still selling hero stuff, but they're not. I think it's important. Like, the reason people hang out and play basketball at a local court is because they watch basketball on TV and it's part of the culture.
mm-hmm.
Nobody hangs out and plays racquetball like casually. Like, it's a thing you have to get into, or even you know what I mean? Like, there's just some stuff that's way more universal and bigger. And I don't know. It just makes me sad because we could have been so great.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
We could have been heroes.
So a part of me likes to play League because I think Heroes, same reason why all those pro streamers they paid to come over and praise the game. They all liked Heroes of the Storm,
Mm-hmm.
but they went back to the game that was the game. And even as I would call myself a casual player, I feel way better playing a game that's relevant,
Mm-hmm.
a sport game that's relevant, than a sport game that is not relevant, unfortunately, as good as it is.
Yeah.
That's a hard thing to say. And I know there might even be people who, work at Blizzard who may be listening to the show. And, it's kind of, I'm sensitive to the fact that saying those things is like a hurtful thing to hear. And it makes me sad. But I feel like if you're making a sports game, then you're also making a case to the public that your sports game is worth people's
Mm-hmm.
time playing. Unlike an MMO, which you can be like Warframe or Elder Scrolls Online, and you don't have to have any views on Twitch and still have a huge audience and huge production value and great game,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But yeah, so that's why I'm playing League, because it's more it's more worth my time to practice that game than the other one, and that's sad because I like Heroes.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know. It's not that I just need a moment. The BlizzCon bummed me out about that. I was feeling pretty charged on it prior to the event, to be honest. I was like, yeah, Heroes, man. Look at that. They're getting a dragon again. Wonder how that'll be implemented. What else will they do at BlizzCon? Nothing. They didn't do anything. Like, it got really relegated, and I'm just still dealing with that, I think. So
I don't think the Deathwing thing was even a knee-jerk response to Blitzchung stuff with that whole issue beforehand, right?
oh, right.
I think it was planned that way from the onset.
Mm-hmm.
Was that Heroes will be announced outside of it as like a appetizer.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was always the plan. That's my impression, anyways.
Yeah, I agree. I'm trying to find a good link to send you, but you can probably find it as easy as I could. But I was trying to find the other thing that's fun to get stoked about ESO is their cinematic trailers are always very good, and they do one for every expansion.
Good God, you like that game.
I really do. But how I love.
It's time to talk about what I'm playing, Scott.
I know, but how I like Blizzard. Like, Blizzard cinematics are the greatest in the industry. There's no question. These are pretty good though. Pretty good.
Where's the link?
Here, I'll give you this one. I think they have a cheese ball at the top they have like a buy gold here thing, but you can ignore it and just skip it. And then they show them all in succession. It's like all of the ones they've ever done, so you can see it all in one place, and it's right there. So you can watch that after the show. All right. Overwatch 2? Or no, 1, but also is what I meant to say. Overwatch also?
Yeah, I'm trying to, on the same token, on the same wavelength as, hey, I need to play, League over Heroes because it's a relevant game. I think Overwatch is still a pretty relevant game, and I've been ignoring it a lot in favor of Heroes. Whoa. Sorry. An ad played, and it just blew my ears away. Overwatch is also a game I've been interested in, but that I've given short shrift to just because I've had other priorities. So I'm like, no, I need to start playing Overwatch again. And that game's really good and addictive if you log in and start letting it sink your teeth into you. I really like Overwatch.
It's great. Overwatch is great. Yeah.
And I know Diablo 4 took up a lot of the space in there, but I thought the 0 hour trailer was pretty incredible.
Yeah, it is.
And it made me sad that Jeff was so melancholy. The way he's like, I hate leaks. We don't know if it's 2 or an expansion. You guys suck.
Yeah.
But the honestly, I'm just like, I'm happy to see them develop the characters more, make it more of a thing, and I think it's almost a shame that Diablo 4 overshadowed what Overwatch is going to be, but I imagine we'll get more news next year about Overwatch, and they'll have their time in the sun.
Yeah.
Because that game is really good. There's a lot of potential there, and the characters, there's a lot to like there. I just had my allegiances with Heroes and my time with Heroes, but I'm kind of planning on spending more time playing Overwatch and League, sort of in the future.
Well, let's play. I'd love to play more of both those things with you. So we'll have to do that and stream some and all that. That'd be fun. Well, excellent. There's our take on what we've been playing this week. Now this.
That's a good question.
Got a quick email to play. It's actually a call, so that's why I have to play it. This person called in and said the following in 44 seconds.
Hey Scott, John, and Bo. After listening to last week's episode, I felt exactly how Bo is feeling when it comes to Heroes of the Storm. I don't want to believe it is a dead game, but it is hard to want to keep putting investment in when I don't feel like Blizzard has a strong future commitment to the game. So I tried playing League of Legends for the first time. Like Scott pointed out, I was kind of put off by the last hit system at first, but it has now started to become a fun minigame. I was also worried about the toxic community League has been known for. However, when I tell my team I'm new, they're very receptive to helping me learn the game. It has been a welcome surprise. I'm curious if Scott or John have dabbled in other MOBAs lately, and would love to hear their experiences. Here's to hoping for a League of Legends podcast from the Frog Pants Network.
I don't know.
What?
I don't know about that last part. I don't have time.
Honestly, I don't know about the last part, but maybe.
Maybe. If
I could
Bo,
do it.
If Bo spearheaded that thing, we would run it. I think I'd.
How hilarious would it be though if we did a League of Legends podcast like next week, and then all of a sudden the Patreon's like $10 million. We have a Kickstarter that's 50 million. It's like,
we could. It would be interesting.
This is
right?
why people do League of Legends content. We're rich.
I don't know that there's. I mean, that's the thing though with League of Legends. I don't know of too many shows that really are.
I used to listen to some back in the day.
Yeah.
There's one, Trinity Force. It had like 6 people on it, and it was very. Don't know if this gets around. I don't know if I want to put that energy out there, but it's amateurish.
Yeah.
But the players were good, and they talk, and
Sure.
they had a very diverse set, and they talk about the game. Sports games again, sports video games. There's that kind of content that's like all about how do we get better at the game? What's the thing to do? What's the thing to do? And there's an audience for that kind of content. And
Sure.
I think because they keep changing up the meta every season, there are reasons to have those kinds of conversations.
Yeah. I agree. Yeah. That seems cool. I don't know. Who knows what the whole future holds? Maybe we'll all just get so hooked on it. I think John would be the most resistant to such ideas. I think John's like, he's got a built-in hatred for that stuff, even though I don't know that he's really given it the time of day. But it's possible.
Well, it was nice to hear that the listener sort of just confirmed everything I said, because I didn't hear that mail before, and he literally is just like, yeah, it's not toxic, which is true. When you say you're new, people are like, oh, cool.
They have done,
so it is a better experience now.
Yeah, and that is funny. I didn't plan for that call to be that way either, but he kind of did confirm everything you were saying.
It's an old ass game, and yeah,
I played a bit a few months ago and enjoyed it. I'm actually really excited about their mobile thing and the console thing they're making. What's it called? I forgot. Wild. Oh shoot.
Runeterra?
No.
Legends of the
No. It's
Wild Nexus. Wild Rift.
Wild Rift. That's it. Yeah. So basically, just like a shorter game, console-ified experience. I think that sounds interesting because I like that stuff on the go. I played a lot of their 10-cent version of this game that way, which is basically League.
Arena of Valor.
Yeah, I'm into stuff. I'll play a little bit here and there. I need if the Heroes team needs to tell me what to expect. Like I feel like they're
there's no roadmap, right? And that's
roadmaps matter. That stuff matters to me.
Roadmaps matter. Aiming for number 1 spot matters, and like as talented as they are, putting like the awesome heroes. Like I think we expect heroes. They might get a map. That's about it. That's all I can guess at, in some seasonal events with cool skins.
Yeah.
They have that part of the recipe, but part of the sports recipe is buzz.
Yeah.
Right. And
yeah.
we saw that with Apex Legends. We see with Fortnite. Sports games live and die on buzz. And if you're killing the buzz, no one's going to want to get high with you. I don't know if that's an analogy is, but you're killing the buzz, man. And it's because I would say, like, I would argue playing 5 players, like with you, John, Kyle, and Kristen, I'm sure it's more fun to play Heroes as a 5 group than to play League, because League is very silo. Like,
Right.
what are you doing in top lane? You're losing the game for us up there. Come help me. No.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, that's how that, you're just expected to be good at your role, and it's not cooperative like that.
Right.
Whereas Heroes very much like, oh, I'm having an off day. Oh, don't worry, we'll carry you. And like, it's just easier to work together and have fun.
That's because Heroes of the Storm is a genuinely great game. I sometimes wonder if Blizzard wouldn't have had a better time if they would have been less hypey about it, because they're Blizzard. Had they just rolled this out and said, hey, by the way, look at this thing we've been working on. Let's say it was even a couple years later, they'd had time to add more heroes or whatever, and we didn't have all the lead up. We didn't have all of the posturing of, and now Blizzard's turn to take over the MOBA world. Like, if we didn't have that, then it may have actually had that. Do you know what I mean?
I think Riot figured out what Blizzard did wrong ultimately.
What's
with
that?
Wild Rift.
What's that?
See, the problem with League is that it's built for professional play.
Yeah.
And if you're a casual play, you play the professional game.
Right.
And there's some, fun for fun modes. Heroes went with the whole, let's make the game better for casual play, and didn't make the esports exciting to watch. Ultimately, that's what happened, right? Because if everyone looks at your game and says, well, it's a casual game, which is what people said, right or wrong, that's the criticism. It doesn't hold a torch to Dota 2 or League because the mechanics are easier. They only made that version of the game. And Riot's looking at it going like, oh, yeah, I guess we have casual players who'd like an easier experience, so we can still cater to the tryhards, and also the ex-Heroes of the Storm players can come play in Wild Rift. Like, that's sort of the disconnect that was there, is that the Heroes did innovate on MOBAs and make it way more accessible and team-oriented, but they didn't focus on, okay, but what's hard mode look like?
Mm-hmm.
Because that's why we watch TV. I mean, we watch basketball players because we cannot play like them, and it's impressive to watch what they do.
Right.
But if you're watching Heroes and you're like, well, I can do that in my Bronze League games, like, no big deal, then you don't. It's like not exciting. Like, that's just facts, right? Like, it's not exciting. But when you watch like Faker or Double Lift playing in the East, like the top esports, you're like, oh my god, he's keeping up his CS, which is the last hit count, and this team's got a consistent gold advantage, and they're always dominating and always winning. Look at what they're doing, and you never see that in any of your games ever. Like, it's this mythological place that they have because they train, and that's what's ultimately missing, I think, just from the Heroes formula.
Yeah.
And I know Blizzard could do it if they wanted to, but I think they're a company that's in flux because they have a lot of different properties, and Riot is just League. It's still just League.
It's still just League. Those announcements mean nothing until they happen.
Their bread is buttered by League money.
Yeah.
So that's where all that attention goes to, and they know it better than Blizzard does because they're focused on that one game.
Yeah.
But Heroes is kind of like, well, we should make a new WoW expansion, and Overwatch needs to be an esports. Plus, that was my big impression with BlizzCon, was like all these stuff happening at the same time. It's such a disservice to all of the franchises.
Yeah.
To have their championships all basically at the same time. I still think that's a problem if they really wanted to be serious about esports that they have to fix.
Yeah.
So.
It's yeah. It'll be interesting to
but
see what the
they don't
future
have they don't have to be the premier esport player. They could just be that. I've come to the understanding that Blizzard's going to do what they're comfortable doing, and the problem is me and my expectations. I want them to do what Riot's doing.
Yeah.
But that's like, I want, an egg to shit money for me. Like, that just doesn't happen. You need to stop wishing for this egg to shit money for me, right? And then I'm happy.
I love that you went with an egg shitting money and not a chicken that would shit money. Or money eggs or whatever. I like that. I agree with everything you said, and I actually think that Diablo 4 is a sign of them doing that with that franchise, funny enough.
Yeah.
That's them saying, you know what? We own this one. So try as all you might. You may have your Path of Exiles here and there that do pretty good, and you got to, occasionally a Torchlight's pretty cool, and you have some contenders, but we are Diablo, and we are going to go hard into this next one, and it's going to be great.
They're going after Path of Exile. Like that, this whole weekend is like Path of Exile.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, yeah.
See,
in a couple of years, you won't even remember what the name of that game is.
mean, it's like they're going after, but they're not really. They're almost like they're just going so back into their own playbook that it automatically is making Path of Exile and some of its players go, ugh. Like some of the worst trolling I got this last week was from PoE players, man. Those guys are cranky at me for even suggesting that Diablo 4 looks good. They're on the path, so literally.
Well, the problem, I played Path of Exile. I don't know how deep you have to go into that community, but there's a general chat when you play, which is cool. I kind of like, they do funny memes and people get banned, and it's kind of humorous to watch that general chat go by.
Yeah.
It's trolly and everything, but it's a big D3 hating circle jerk in there.
Oh yeah, no,
like, it's just like incel central in there. It's with like freaking D3, man. It's like, it's been 8 years.
Yeah.
You have Path of Exile. Like, shut up for what? Like,
you have your game. Quit.
You've been complaining for like 8 years. Like, who cares?
There is a bit of that. Yeah, and it's unfortunate because it's a cool game. I like Path. I think it's great.
I don't think it's a reflection on the game. I mean, I don't know how. I'm sure their developers feel like they're doing it better than Blizzard, but
sometimes community.
That's the
yeah.
Well, you say you get the chat room you deserve kind of thing.
Yeah, it's a Tom
like
always says.
That game is based on. I think that game, like one of the soul stones of that game, one of the primevals is just the hatred, the Lord of Hatred of Diablo 3.
Yeah.
So
I think that's fair. You gotta watch these trailers. Okay, I gotta close it. All right. There's that. There's your thing. That's it. Oh, we did a long one.
That's a show, I think.
Yeah, we did a long one today. Look at this.
2 hours, roughly.
2 hours. And
I thought we were gonna do a short one because John's not here.
I did too. Hold on. How long did we do? I can tell you. We did 2 hours, 16 minutes. Woo. That's a beast. Plenty of content for you to enjoy.
I hope you guys appreciate this episode. We put a lot of work into it.
Or something. Also, I was going to say, everybody who watched live, thank you guys for hanging out so long. Jeez. It's been fun having you here, although we lost about 20 of them over time, but it's fine. Anyway, hey, let us know what you think. John will be back next week. Should be fine. He's just convalescing, got a little illness going on. A couple of my co-hosts this week are down sick, which is kind of a bummer. What do they say? Only 1.5 hours of Scott extolling Elder Scrolls. Oh, come on. It wasn't that long. It's probably 20 minutes.
No, it wasn't an hour and a half. It was, 20 minutes, 30 minutes.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes you got to let your passion out.
So what? Like, one of the great things about the 2-man show versus the 3-man show is you get a little more time to go deep on that thing you're passionate about if you're really feeling passionate.
Yeah, that is absolutely true, and that's how it felt tonight. But it was a lot of fun. Thank you all for being here and being a part of it. We liked having you here. Don't forget, you can find all of our old episodes and everything we do over at frogpants.com/core, CORE. And if you're up for it, we'd love your support at our Patreon, patreon.com/core show. It's what makes the show happen. There are great rewards and cool stuff to get by simply heading on over to patreon.com/core show. And to those who already do, our huge and unending thanks goes to you. We really, really appreciate it. You can find us all on Twitter, CorePod, John_Jagger. I'm at Scott Johnson, Bo's at Bo Schwartz. That is going to do it for us. For me, for Bo, for John, who isn't here, but will be next time. We'll see you next time. This show is part of the Frog Pants Network.
Frog Pants Network.
Get more shows like this at frogpants.com.
China.